Dave Woloshyn and Brett Stotts Norsworthy.
And a very pleasant good afternoon to you on this Tuesday, January 5th, 2021. Already 5 days removed from that thing called 2020. Every passing day, I think, gets better. We've got a lot of things in front of us, but we're moving on already with this 2021 thingy, and it's already better than that 2020. We welcome you in. Drew Barrett with me today, co-hosting and producing. Dave is out today. Unfortunately, we won't hear Dave with us between 3 and 6 today. And sadly, we won't hear Dave tonight calling the Tigers action. As I'm sure as most have heard by now, the Tigers game tonight at UCF canceled due to UCF COVID and contact tracing issues. Shouldn't come as a surprise to people that we are dealing with this around sports, as we've been dealing with it and will for some time now, quite some time now. Going forward, I'm afraid we're going to have to deal with it. So the Temple game, January 2nd, and now the game tonight, postponed, not canceled, postponed, because I know the league is scrambling to try to find ways to make it up, even trying on the fly, either home or road, probably at home, to get in a game for the Tigers this weekend. Even some conversation among the league brass of when UCF comes to Memphis on February 3rd. It won't be a doubleheader that day, but they'll play twice while they're in town. So trying to do things like that, that's one of the possibilities. There are a lot of things, a lot of moving parts out there in sports. We know that for sure by now with what we've gone through. Frankly, now, coming up on the 10-month mark from the Rudy Gobert night, March 11th, 2020, until now, we know what it's like. At least we are trying to play. One of the sadder nights of the year tonight, the last game as well, they've been here. The Lakers have been here in town since Saturday with LeBron James, but no fans on Sunday, no fans tonight, and that's always one that there are a lot of Laker fans at those games, a lot of King James jerseys of whatever vintage he's been a part of. But, Drew, it's sad on a night that we thought at minimum we would have Tiger college action and Grizzlies NBA action. We knew we were going to have no fans at FedEx Forum, but no fans, no nothing in Orlando, and no fans at FedEx Forum, Drew.
Yeah, you said it exactly right. This is something that nobody should be shocked that we're dealing with, and it's not going to be over anytime soon. Hopefully it'll be a lot faster now that we've gotten needles and shoulders, but it is kind of sad especially for all those Grizzlies fans, the people who save up money, who give, we see year in and year out, the big Christmas present of the good seats to go see LeBron James or exactly. KD or another superstar in the NBA. Giannis, the few times he visits Memphis, Tennessee. It's just not going to happen. Luckily, they are allowing media, so I will be there. We'll get to be a little selfish, and I get to go see LeBron while nobody else does, but it's going to be different for sure, not only just with nobody there, but who's actually going to be on the court for the Grizzlies. I mean, I don't know if I need to bring my breakaway pants and my own basketball shoes because, heck, they might let me suit up.
And no John Conchar tonight. I mean, no Dave in Orlando, no John Conchar in Memphis. What's the world coming to? 2021, you weren't supposed to start like this.
Clearly already the worst day of 2021. We're 5 days in, and I'm already calling it this is the worst day.
Let's hope it stays that
Let's
way.
hope so.
Because, but we're into this 2021 thing coming up this weekend. 3 games on Saturday, 3 on Sunday in the NFL. We'll talk a lot of NFL as we do every Tuesday afternoon. We'll talk a lot of college football. We'll talk a lot of Tigers. We'll talk a lot of Grizzlies at 3:30. Our final visit of the year. On this part of the show, we'll check in with him periodically, though. But as a regular guest, Gabe Kuhn talking Tigers with us all year long. It's been brought to you by Neil's Bar and Grill, Bartlett Small Engines, Crab Kings, Mount Moriah Auto Sales, and Southland Casino. We can't thank those great sponsors enough, and we can't thank Gabe enough. I told him just a few minutes ago, it really, for me, very not even bittersweet, just sad, just bitter to say goodbye to the big man talking Tiger football and AAC football and college football. We'll do that at 3:30 at 4 o'clock. More of SEC, AAC, ACC with Brent Beard. Our college football friend down in Jacksonville at 4:30. Jeff Moore on the NFL. 5 o'clock, we'll continue NFL talk with Bo Marchand, and in between that, we will have our quarterback rankings. Drew has his list. I have mine. And, Drew, I don't know if I spelled out the mission statement well enough. It's for right now. It's not meritorious service. It's not what they've done. It's who you think's best going into this set of January of 2021 playoffs. We go 1 through 14 with the quarterbacks, and under that mission statement, I've got some bigger names with hardware near the bottom.
I've got a few down at the bottom. It's the biggest one was, obviously, what do you do with Tom Brady? Because, I mean, he's Tom Brady. I mean, the rings, the championships, they all count. But right now, is he a top half of the NFL? Is he in that top 7? So I was kind of going back and forth with him. But for some of the big names, especially some of the older guys, definitely a lot lower on my list than I think I would have had them any times in their career.
Now, in pure production, you realize that Tom Brady, no blind resume to it. Here's the resume. You ready?
I'm ready.
Went over 4,600 yards this year with 40 touchdown passes.
That's pretty good. So I'm where I've got him in my rankings, I think balances out a bit then. So, but I think for the other guys, I mean, as far as like the other old guys, Big Ben, Big Ben, Phillip Rivers, kind of pretty far down on my list. Drew Brees is a lot lower on my list than he would have been in years past, and trying to figure out where to put Mitch Mitchell. That was another thing. Do I put him at 15? I mean, I know we've only got 14, but I contemplated putting him at 15.
Well, I have him at 17.
17. Well,
I have Mitch Trubisky at 18. I have Mitch Mitchell at 17. But no, that was one of the easier ones, where to put Mitchell Trubisky. That was easy. At 5:30, we visit with Ron Tillery. I hadn't been able to chat with Ron in a while on all things Grizzlies, all things NBA. The Grizzlies and the Lakers tonight at FedEx Forum. Will get his historical perspective. Like no other, it is the best. We will get his historical perspective of the Lakers coming through Memphis through all these years. One of my favorite Grizzlies games ever. First year, 2001, Christmas time. They were terrible. The Lakers weren't. They were Kobe and Shaq and rolling. And around Christmas time, a big upset at the Pyramid. Great holiday feeling, great win over that, and finally in the major leagues, that was one of my favorites. And I would say through the years, through the Grizzlies' years, the Lakers are the biggest out-of-town draw, and I think LeBron is now the biggest out-of-town draw. We'll talk with Ron about it. What do you think?
I think basically, as of right now, it just really revolves around where LeBron is. I mean, obviously, you talk back to when LeBron was in Cleveland for the first stint while Kobe was still playing, or LeBron in Miami when Kobe was still playing. Yeah, Kobe was still a big draw. I mean, obviously he was Kobe, but I think it's always, since LeBron's been in the league, it's kind of following LeBron, in my opinion. Just wherever he's at, that's the team with a big money ticket.
And a lot of those years with Cleveland and Miami, and then back to Cleveland, we only got him once a year. And that made it even more special. The out-of-town stars and all the different jerseys, the local people, or maybe even people from around the area. I had a friend of mine, and he was a Golden State fan before they got good. I will give him credit for that. I don't know why, as a
big Hank McDowell fan.
I don't know that he was way past that. I don't know that Hank necessarily was it, but he that was his team, and he would drive up from Hamilton, Alabama, no matter when the Grizzlies would play Golden State, and then they got good, and he really enjoyed it, and he would come up for playoff games, and people would think he was a front runner, and I almost want to go, no, he really
he's legit. He's good.
He's really a lawless. We'll wrap up this day around 5:45 or so with Taco Bell Crunch Time. You can text us at 67129 at the First Bank text line, 360-8255. Give us a call anytime at the First Bank telephone line. We'd love to hear from you, and we love having First Bank back on board with us for another calendar year. You know the good people at First Bank. You know, recently they've been in the news and stepping up as in a partnership and a business relationship with the University of Memphis. I know they're proud to do that, and we are proud to be associated with First Bank. Visit firstbankonline.com. First Bank, they know what you need reliable, trustworthy Memphis bankers that can give you a direct answer. They make the decisions about you right here in Memphis. No out-of-town loan committee, no sending it off for any approval anywhere to Nashville, to Birmingham, to Atlanta, no, not anywhere. All the answers are made about you right here in Memphis. A direct answer from the First Bank banker you're dealing with. First Bank, with stories and a record of customers reaching high community banks as the preferred lender, of people building a success story. Build your 2021 success story with First Bank. That's firstbankonline.com, firstbankonline.com, 360-8255 or 67129 to reach us. Drew, tonight's game for the Tigers, good or bad? I mean, how will it play out? Now it's going to be, if the league doesn't step up, the Tigers won't. They're not scheduled to play again until January 14th at FedEx Forum against SMU, trying to work in the new offense, trying to make some on-the-fly changes. But rest or rust, your take?
See, that's the biggest question when it comes into it. Are you going to be rusty when you come back, having now missed 2 games and now looking at it being possible 2+ weeks since you've played if you don't play until January 11th? But on the flip side of that, Penny breaking out this new Lion offense, this new Lion set, which when it debuted, first few minutes of the game, looked different, looked pretty good. Then they seem to abandon it unless the Lion offense was to start really hot and then go back to what you've been doing all season long. And I highly doubt that. Yeah, I highly doubt that.
Back into the kitty cat.
So I think it's good to really drill in this new type of offensive set that Penny wants to run and to kind of have more rhythm playing it, because we saw him try to put it in basically within, 3-4 days between games. So right now you'd kind of look at it as a good thing to get more reps in this new offense at practice and work on things that you ultimately need to do, because let's face it, it just hasn't looked very good thus far.
No, it hadn't. 6-4, and that in and of itself speaks for itself. True, I think opening afternoon, St. Mary's is still the red letter banner win of the year. The 4 losses, take what you want out of that. For the what's the worst loss? As it has worked out, Western Kentucky and Virginia Common, they've played pretty well. Auburn, I didn't think was very good that day, and I still don't. I think they will struggle mightily in SEC, and the Tulsa loss, Tulsa with some notoriety and some wins
Houston
that
a week
gotten.
later. So
yeah, so maybe not as bad. The South Florida game, it was a win, and that's what you play for. But it was
not
plug ugly, and it got down to real white knuckle time, and would have started some conversation that I didn't think we would be having in year 3. I'm not ready for that conversation. I'm not going to avoid it when it's time for it, but I don't think it's freak out time yet. The next loss, and tonight I think could have sufficed for it. The next loss, if it comes in the next 3 or 4 games, whether that now ends up being SMU at home, Tulsa on the road, where we know what happened last year, or Wichita State at home, I think then some conversation changes, but I don't think it needs to change into really rough criticism, crazy talk. Okay, this year is not going like most people expected. Right now, the tournament seems a million miles away.
It does seem a million miles away, and you're exactly right. If you didn't think that this is where this program would be in year 3, especially with the recruiting classes, with the type of talent that you thought you were bringing in, and just scratching your head wondering why it's not meshing together, why it's not working. And, I mean, ultimately, you kind of only have so many fingers to point at, and I don't think it's time to point them all at Penny. I don't think that anybody.
He can't play for them.
He can't do that. I mean, he can only tell them what to do and how to do it, and I think he does a good job of that. I think we obviously know his basketball IQ is through the roof, and he knows the game better than 99.99% of people that have ever played the game. The man knows basketball, so I don't think it's time to point fingers at him for the reason why it's not meshing all together like we thought it should. but something's got to change. And I think if we're sitting at this point by year, maybe even next year, it might be time to reevaluate and see if this experiment's going to work out in the long term.
Here's one thing that whenever the next loss or gaggle of losses kind of occur, if you go on an 8 or 9 game winning streak and then the loss occurs, maybe not as much.
No.
But let's say that the next 10 it's 6-4, and you look up and you're 12-8. This one could fairly be brought up, and I was a little concerned about it on the front end, as I am across sport for any kind of this description, this template of a coach. It is hard. It's hard to find throughout sports, any sport, the superstar player that ended up being the great coach. Because, and you almost feel and sense the frustration with Coach Hardaway of, why can't they do this? Why isn't it translating?
It's easy. Coach, I can do it. Why can't
they?
Penny
Hardaway.
Exactly.
Everybody's not you. Everybody's not Ted Williams managing the Texas Rangers. He couldn't understand that. Heck, in that very brief stint that George Brett was the hitting instructor for the Royals, they said it almost drove him crazy. That how come that guy down down 1-2 in the count? How come he can't drive the ball the opposite field? Well, everybody's not George Brett, and I was a little reluctant about that on the front end, but not enough for it to not have been tried. It still very much was worth trying. I think still very much can be accomplished and done successfully by Coach Hardaway.
I think it can, but at the same time, especially where we are in sports through basically every level, how long do you give people to make it work? Because it seems like in a lot of situations, we want things to work right off the front end. We want success right off the bat. And we saw it with Tubby Smith. We've seen it with other coaches around the country. Yeah, he's doing an okay job, but it's not what we want, so why waste any more time on that? It's going to get to the point where people are going to start asking, how much more time? How much more time do we waste until we try to turn it around with somebody new? And that's going to be the problem.
And there's also success
hopefully it's not a
story
problem, but it could be.
Exactly. But there's success story after success story out there in the coaching world of remaining a little bit patient, and especially with and everybody's dealing with it, dealing with these times. I do want to say this, though. We had a texter yesterday, and I don't speak roughly toward anybody, but I want to remind people, just like when the Tigers money people and boosters decided to buy out Tubby Smith after 2 years. I know it was in a different atmosphere than we are in now, and not the layoffs and not the financial battle that everybody's in. But Texas has gotten a lot of the criticism, South Carolina, Auburn, and all those places. And I hope people know this, and people in sports sure should know this. When you tweet about it and you say, how dare you do this during these times, it's a bad look. It may be a bad look.
The optics aren't great, but
they aren't. And I'm sorry for the people that I really am. I'm sorry for the people that lost their jobs. But those boosters, they don't care about the support staff. They don't care about name your sport. I don't want to belittle anybody's sport, but name your non-revenue producing sport that somebody may have just been laid off, or they didn't hire another assistant, or they fired the travel coordinator for that non-revenue producing sport. Those people don't care about that. It's their money. You cannot tell them how they can spend their money. It's their funny money. It's their hobby money. And their hobby money was to tell Tom Herman to hit the bricks.
Exactly. It's their money. They're the ones paying for it. It might not be fair. It might not be how sports should be run. But when you're talking to universities and major boosters and major donors, that's kind of how the world works. Whoever has the most money gets to speak the loudest. Sorry, that's just how it is.
That's it. And I look, there's a lot of bad looks about college athletics. One of them, you write a big enough check, you name your parking place. You name your seat. You name if you want to fly on the team charter.
You name the stadium if you
want. You can have the stadium named after you. I heard John and Gabe talking about naming rights and things like that and sponsorships. I mean, at the college level, the light switches down the hallway are practically sponsored by someone, and that's just the way it is to produce revenue. We produce revenue with great sponsors like Lexus of Memphis. Thank you so much for being with us, sponsor of this hour each and every day. They are at 2600 Ridgeway, and they are online at lexusofmemphis.com. Give them a call at 901-362-8833. Stop by, give them a call, tell them Happy New Year, Happy 2021, and they are offering the golden opportunity New Year sales event. Great offers on all remaining, very few 2020s and the 2021s have mostly taken over. Driving luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2021 flagship LS500. You'll be looking and driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design that makes for the luxury driving experience. Lexus of Memphis, the one and only Lexus dealership in Memphis. They are online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
My top story of the day, I'm going to switch it up because it's just coming across the Twitter line here and breaking in the last 20 to 30 minutes. Per sources, there are COVID-19 issues at Ohio State and in their football program, which is leading to discussions about postponing the CFP National Championship, which is set to take place next Monday. Hopefully it doesn't get postponed, but if it does, I mean, you got plenty of time. I mean, it's not like you really got to worry about the next game. So if we got to move it back, we can move it back.
You do have a little time, and that comes as no surprise. You knew when they floated the idea of alternate dates in case. You see the Cleveland Browns with the issue that they're having. They're supposed to play the Sunday night game. That could very well be played Tuesday. Who knows? We'll talk about it as the day progresses. My top story tonight was supposed to be the tale of two teams really on display tonight. One down in Orlando, they're not going to play. We talked about the Tigers and that postponement, and where will this season end up? Right now, the NCAA tournament bid, that's already been greatly damaged. When the Tigers do start playing again, they got to get on 3, 4, 5 game run, and then we will rekindle some NCAA tournament talk. For the Grizzlies, they host LeBron James and the Lakers at FedEx Forum tonight in front of nobody. How very sad that has happened. Sports sad, of course. World champs, they've been here since Saturday, played on Sunday, beat the Grizzlies with basically a G League team for the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies right now, they are 15th out of 15 in the West. And look at the difference in the optics and the conversation once again, Drew, around those two things. Grizzlies in dead last, everybody happy as they can be. Future so bright, may get Cade Cunningham, you put him with Jaren, you put him with DB, you put him with Ja, everything's going to be fine in the future. And for the Tigers, everything's right now. There's such a dichotomy around both of those when it comes to the criticism front. The Grizzlies almost immune from it. They've had the vaccine of all time because of injuries and young and all that. And all that's legitimate. All that is very legitimate. But they're 15th out of 15.
I think I said it with Ron last week, asking, if it is okay to criticize the guys that are on the court because they are professionals in a town where we treat the 18 to 22-year-olds like professionals and the professionals like 18 to 22-year-olds. It doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes, but it's just the way it works apparently around here.
Not top story of the day.
My not top story of the day is those Memphis Grizzlies, as they are back in action tonight against LeBron and the Lakers. Kind of, I guess. Like Brett said, they are dropping like flies in this early season with 7 players out tonight. So if you're a Grizzlies player with a uniform, congratulations. You're going to get a lot of playing time. And if you're not a Grizzlies player in a uniform and you tested negative for COVID in the last 24 hours, got your own shoes, maybe have your own jersey from the gift shop, show up a couple hours before. See if they'll let you in. I'm definitely wearing my breakaway pants tonight because they might just have to look up at the Pinnacle area and point at me, and I'm ready to go.
They're not good.
Could I do any worse? I mean, a loss is a loss, right? Whether it's by 1 or 100, it's still a loss.
That'd be worse than that tank job throwing the game the Eagles pulled on Sunday. My not top story, if it's Mac Jones or Devontae Smith, it'll be great and historic Heisman Trophy winner tonight. We know is going to be an Alabama player. They will have their third Heisman Trophy winner ever. It took forever for them to get the first one. Mark Ingram became the first Alabama player in the closest balloting ever to win it in 2009. In that Alabama storied football history, they waited and waited and waited, and now they're going to get 3 since 2009. Mac Jones would be the first Alabama quarterback to ever win the Heisman, joining running backs Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry. Devontae Smith would be the first wide receiver since 91 and one of only about 3 or 4 that can claim wide receiver. Charles Woodson a little when he played both ways. Tim Brown, of course. Desmond Howard in 91. Johnny Rogers, Johnny the Jet for Nebraska in 72. And way back in 1949, and they listed him as an end. Not wide receiver, not tight end, just an end. Leon Hart for Notre Dame. He won it in 1949.
Does that mean wide receiver? Is an end a wide receiver?
He was kind of inline blocker and a little bit of a pass catcher, just a little bit. And he still, by 5 pounds, is the biggest Heisman Trophy winner ever. 6'5", 265 pounds, edging 6'5", 260-pound Cam Newton.
Wow. That was not the guy's name that I thought you were going to pull out of your hat there. I did not realize Cam Newton was that large of a man, especially at his Auburn days.
As the late, great Paul Hornung told us one time on Radio Row, Cam Newton's bigger than every lineman, offensive and defensively, that he played with Lombardi's Green Bay Packers. We are underway. We want you to be a part of it at 360-8255 at the First Bank phone line, the First Bank text line 67129. Talk Tigers and AAC for the final time this year with Gabe Kuhn, Drew Barrett producing and co-hosting. I'm Brett Norsworthy. Dave will be back with us tomorrow. You are listening to Sports Time.
Get happy with Sports 56 Happy Hour with Johnny Radio. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 3 on Sports 56, 98.5, and 96.1.
It's time, Memphis. Tune into Fox Sports Southeast and watch your next-gen Grizzlies tonight at 7 p.m. when they host LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Check out Grizzlies.com for more information.
One thing I really admire about Central Barbecue is their commitment to quality.
Then why do they let you do their commercials?
I'm talking about their food. Everything is prepared with devotion to taking the time and effort to create perfect barbecue.
Oh, I know. That's exactly why I was wondering why...
They're not kidding with that slow-smoked Memphis-style slogan. They smoke their pork for 14 hours. Do they have to? They do if they want to be the best barbecue in Memphis, and they are.
And yet they let you just throw together...
There's nothing better than Central Barbecue because they care.
Except apparently about their radio ads.
It's free furnace time. Hi, this is John Conway with Conway Services. Are you considering replacing your air conditioning system this spring? January is one of our slowest months of the year. Our warehouse is full and our crews are slow. So to spark business during these cold winter months, Conway Services is giving away Carrier 80% gas furnaces absolutely free with the purchase of a standard Carrier air conditioning system. That's right, purchase a Carrier air conditioning system in the month of January and get a gas furnace absolutely free. If that's not enough, we'll include an April air cleaner, a 10-year parts warranty, and a free Nest thermostat. That's up to $2,000 in savings. Plus, get your new system for as low as $139 per month or 12 months interest free. Now, you can do that. And you know with Conway Services, you'll be receiving our award-winning service every time. So call Conway Services, the Mid-South's premier heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric service company at 384-3511. And the first 30 callers with a 10-year-old system will come out and inspect it absolutely free.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
Do not wait for summer. Get your pool now during the early bird pool sale at Family Leisure through February the 7th. You can reserve your installation spot on your new pool purchase from Family Leisure. You know the prices like the temperature. They'll go up when it gets warmer, so you must reserve yours now. Family Leisure has hundreds of spas on order, so reserve yours now. The early bird pool sales happening now at Family Leisure, Whidden Road at I-40, where family and fun come together.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stat. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Wolochen and Brett Norsworthy.
It has been so fun since August. One of the normal things that we got back into when August got here was to talk Tigers on Tuesday afternoon with our good friend, part of our team here at Sports 56 WHBQ, a big part of our team, literally and figuratively, Gabe Kuhn, former Tiger. He is on Twitter at G_KUHN71. He has joined us on Tuesday all year long, talking Tigers, brought to you by Neil's Bar and Grill, Bartlett Small Engines, Crab Kings, Mount Moriah Auto Sales, and Southland Casino. Southland Casino, they're ready to welcome you back. Blackjack, craps, roulette, slots, all rolling again. Sportsbook betting, wide open, reopened. The most spacious casino floor in the Mid-South, ready to welcome you back with all your favorite games like craps and blackjack, roulette, and all the slots, your favorite slots. What are you waiting for? Go ahead and make the short drive to Southland. They are ready for you, and we are ready for Gabe Kuhn to talk Tigers, AAC, and the end of the college football year. And, Gabe, I know you were proud of it. I know y'all talked a lot about the bowl game last week, but I wasn't here, so I want to get in some comments to you and your thoughts. I know you were proud of your Tigers for that win, the first Tiger Bowl win since you were on the field playing in 2014, and this time without the post-game theatrics.
That was the good thing. That was the good thing. Always, by the way, I always look forward to this segment. It's
Thank you, Gabe.
Great to always be with you guys. Obviously missing Wola today. Been a slice this year. Didn't think we'd get to this point, but here we are. But yeah, I was very proud, and honestly very proud of my former coach. Obviously coached O-line while I was there, Coach Silverfield, and what he was able to accomplish and winning a bowl game for the first time in 5 years, and just going 8-3 year one. Honestly, exceeding expectations in regards to what he was able to do with all the distractions this year. I was proud of that team, the resiliency, and the future looks even brighter.
Yeah, Gabe, it really does. And before we get to 2021 and what that's going to look like, you're talking about Coach Ryan Silverfield, and I think anybody would be crazy to not give him an A for his first year. But as far as, you've now seen two Memphis coaches, obviously playing for one in their first year and one obviously not this year. How do you think Ryan Silverfield stacked up against the last head coach and Mike Norvell in his first year?
Heck, I think it was very similar. There were some trials and tribulations dealing with what he had to deal with. I certainly think in regards to overcoming those things, I think Silverfield stepped up to the plate even more than Norvell did in year one. Losing your two All-American players, your biggest points of production on your offense, and still coming forward and being one of the best offenses in the conference and winning games despite having struggles at the end of the season with your defense even. The hires he made in the offseason. I really do think, all in all, he had one of the best first seasons to date in Memphis football history. That's just the truth of the matter when you look at what he was able to accomplish.
That is a big statement, and I think you're right, Gabe. It may be the best first year of any first-year Tiger head coach.
As far as winning percentage, it is.
And you take into account the last two coaches that sort of put this thing into motion. Fuente was 4-8 his first year, and obviously that was a huge step up from the 0-12 the year before.
1-11. Did win one game.
1-11. But you can't put him into the conversation at a 4-8 record. And then Coach Norvell, while I thought he did a very, very good job his first year, 8-6, and a loss at the Boca Raton Bowl to a Sun Belt opponent was not as good. And I know it's a bold statement to say, and I know a lot of people were a little bit, wary of what Silverfield did this year. They were critical at times. But the truth of the matter is dealing with what he had to deal with and coming through with the results he came through with and the bowl win, it really is the best first season for a Tiger head coach. If you just look at the record.
I don't say this at all with any glee. There were a lot of years. Tiger football season ended good. I don't want to think about it again until opening week next year.
Right.
The complexion has totally changed with people already looking forward to opening afternoon or night against Nicholls State in 2021 and that continuity, and they have firmly affixed themselves at the top of what everybody recognizes as a really, really good, solid conference.
Right, and it excites the hell out of you when you see the recruiting he's been able to do. You see the program, what they have coming back. It just excites you. You know, what they've been able to do in the transfer portal, getting a possible quarterback of the future in Grant Gunnell, getting guys at positions of need that were former 4-stars that have played some Power 5 ball, and Julian Barnett and Devontae Dobbs out of Michigan State. I think, you know, the excitement is higher than it's ever been, and it's only adding with what's being done in the offseason. It's become a year-round conversation, what Memphis football is going to do, what the season is going to look like.
Yeah, I think you had to take a look at my notes before you left because, I mean, you're just going straight down my list. I mean, leading me right into my next question, just like you did the first one, with the transfer portal and getting 2 quarterbacks through the transfer for next year, 2 former 4-star guys. Peter Parrish at LSU, obviously, has been with the program for a couple months now. Grant Gunnell from Arizona, another 4-star guy. Who do you think wins that starting job?
So here's the thing. I look at Peter Parrish, who did not get much playing time, didn't get to see any real game reps at LSU. And he's definitely a different type of quarterback compared to what they've been dealing with Brady White. He likes to run the ball. We don't know how developed he is as a passer. But then on the other hand, you look at Grant Gunnell, and this is a guy who's played meaningful ball in the Power 5 at Arizona, and played pretty well, relatively well against good competition. I think he threw for 3 TDs, 1 interception, and nearly 300 yards this year against USC, which was a top 25 team and probably one of the best teams there in the Pac-12. So my experience with this thing is, generally speaking, and obviously this is generally speaking, I can't tell the future, a lot of coaching staffs tend to default to the guy who's had experience and had some success at the Power 5 level. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say Peter Parrish can't go in and win the thing. That's not to say that it won't be a controversy in camp. But I do know from experience that a lot of these coaches tend to default and give a lot of the first-team reps to guys that have had experience, especially playing at the Power 5 level.
Yeah, Ty goes to the guy with some tape. Ty goes to the guy that has some chops. Now, what you would love to see is if we had a spring, a normal spring. I don't think we're going to have – we may have spring football, but I don't know that we're going to have spring games, and I don't know if that many people are going to miss that, but it is good for marketing promotion. But anyway, if we have a normal spring – normal workouts in the summer, and then a real normal August camp, you would love to see Parrish go out there and knock it out of the park and make it easy on that coaching staff. There's our starter. Mm-hmm. It's simple. That would be great, Gabe.
Yeah, no question. And I think with a spring, with the talent he possesses, that's certainly possible. This is a guy, again, 4-star, athletic as all get out, can throw the football. So, again, I can't tell the future in these situations, but I can certainly say that I really do think between what they've done in high school recruiting and in the transfer portal, they're in good hands. And there's another guy who could be a dark horse for this whole thing, is a very high 3-star. They ended up getting out of Louisiana, and Keelan Brown is the guy they were very excited about when he came in under Norvell's watch. So.
I remember a 3-star out of Louisiana that Mississippi State once signed. I'm not comparing this youngster to Dak Prescott, but that's what he was.
But
Louisiana.
There are some options to go replace Brady White with, and I'm certain that excites the fan base.
It is really exciting to know that regardless of who you go with, you think that it's going to be a slam dunk just based off of who you've had in the past. I mean, when you've got a track record like you've had the last 7 years, you feel pretty good about making that decision going forward. And Gabe, obviously, the foremost O-line expert in the Memphis market when it comes to the media. How does
Better
the O-line,
recognize. I like it, Drew.
I got you, buddy. How do you see the O-line going forward? Obviously, a lot of trouble this year. Got the transfer from Michigan State coming in. Don't know if Lopez is going to come back for another year, which would be more experience on the offensive line. How do you see it shaping up?
It's going to be a massive offseason for that group. You know that Coach Silverfield, having the O-line as his baby, more or less, that's where he is used to spending a lot of his time. He's going to have a huge point of emphasis. And we'll have to see, what Obina does, what Manny does. But these are guys that were your experience this year. And without them, you start to wonder who is going to step in and fill those shoes. Now, they did a good thing in going to get Devontae Dobbs out of Michigan State. He's a 4-star who's played, and I believe he has started a game in the Big Ten. So that's a guy that you could see absolutely making an immediate impact. But there's a lot of question marks. But I don't think, the past couple years that there has not been a whole bunch of question marks around that group. You've lost a lot of starts. And it started in 2017. I ended up leaving, right? And then you had Drew Kaiser and Trayvon Tate, two guys who started 50 games, Roger Joseph and Dustin Woodard the next year, who both started around 40 to 50 games. So I don't think that any offseason, the past 3 or 4 seasons has had that O-line totally without question marks. So we'll see how this works itself out. But I got to imagine that based on what we saw in the run game and how they were protecting the quarterback back half of the season, it will be a huge point of emphasis for the staff.
It's one of the sadder aspects of college sports, but going into it, the shelf life is going to expire after 4 years, or if they're redshirt after 5, they're a junior college guy. The arithmetic. It's going to expire. You're going to have senior day. You're going to say goodbye to them, and then you got to fall in love with the next group and get to know them. Yep. And unfortunately for us, the shelf life for Talking Tigers with Gabe Kuhn, it ends today. It'll start back in August. We'll check in with you with some spring and some breaking news, but weekly visits will continue again in August. And Gabe, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much respect and so much appreciation for you. Thank you.
Man, thank you guys. Something I look forward to every week on Tuesday. It's just a blessing to be able to talk with you guys every single week. Obviously, again, we're missing Wolo, but I'll be ready to go back when we get to August, and obviously looking forward to it. Can't get here fast enough.
You bet. We'll do it. Gabe Kuhn, Talking Tigers with us every Tuesday afternoon, brought to you by Neil's Bar and Grill, Bartlett Small Engines, Crab Kings, Mount Moriah Auto Sales, and Southland Casino. We know you don't have a chance now on any level of modern football without having a quarterback that can produce. And I threw it out yesterday, and Drew, I assume you've ended up finding the bottom of the rabbit hole on AAC and SEC quarterbacks, and I forgot to do my side. I'm sorry.
I did a full conference and a half, and you couldn't figure out to do your one side that you offered, that you sent me down this rabbit hole.
I'm sorry.
You sent me down this, and you couldn't help figure.
I can come up with it approximating off the top of my head, but I threw out yesterday, you look at the consistency at quarterback from opening night 2013, Paxton Lynch, Riley Ferguson, Brady White, and how many other places that could top that. And that's the only 3. It wasn't even a guy, we need guy X to start FCS game because a hamstring's hurting. It's been those 3 in there. Alabama might be the closest thing to it, but it had all that kind of quarterback dysfunction in the early part of the 2015 season before settling in on Jake Coker, and they won a national championship settling in with him. But they've had a lot more stars than that. Just in the last 3 years, they've had Mac Jones and Tua And before that, Jalen Hurts. And then they had the quarterback that ended up transferring to Arizona State. They had Cooper Bateman. They had Blake Sim. They've had much more than that. Ole Miss with a lot of quarterbacks. Tennessee with, again, to use the same word, the dysfunction at quarterback. What did you find in AAC and SEC East?
All right, as far as the AAC, it's not really even that close. 3 schools actually only had 5 start in that 7-year period. You had Cincy only had 5, Tulsa had 5, SMU had 5, Central Florida, they had 7, Temple, South Florida was 8, East Carolina with 9, Navy had 11, and Tulane had 10.
Take a lot of hits running the bone.
Yeah, and just because, I mean, you can kind of flip and flop a lot of those people out. I mean, if it wasn't for the final 2 years of Reynolds and then 3 years of Perry,
Arkansas
it would have been a lot more.
Last year.
I didn't get higher than, I think, 3 in a year through the American and SEC East. But in the East, Florida's had 8, Georgia's had 8, Mizzou's had 6, South Carolina's had 10, Tennessee's had 9, Vandy's had 8, and Kentucky has had 7. So nobody's been anywhere close to only 3 in 7 years. And another
LSU started 3 different guys this year in a 10-game season. The last year they had 1 guy in there all year, but that's 4, so that's 1 more just in the last 2 years than the Tigers. Point being, a lot of consistency for the Tigers. We know consistency in Memphis, and we know it at our barbecue places. And the number one in that consistency, it's got to be out at the commissary, either place. The new Collierville commissary, coming up on a birthday, not that new anymore, but it's the newer commissary in Collierville. At Houston, Levy, and Poplar are the original in Germantown. Happy 2021. To you, they appreciate everyone, and they want to let everybody know, even under the newer restrictions, everything's safe, everything contactless. They'll bring it out to you, limited in the restaurants. We know that. We're going to fight through this for a little while longer, maybe a lot longer, but they're prepared to do it, and they appreciate you hanging with them at either commissary, at either place. Start with that barbecue or the cheese plate or the tamales or the barbecue nachos, smoked chicken wings. They are fantastic. The ribs, the shoulder, you can get it chopped, you can get it pulled on a sandwich, a big sandwich, or you can get it on a plate. Now, usually about October, I start with not too early to get on the holiday bird list. It's too early now, but they want to thank everyone that got the bird for the holidays, and you know what you got for the Thanksgiving round of holidays or the December round of holidays. You got that great bird from the commissary. A little early now for it, but we'll get back around to it at some point come October or November. 754-5540 online at commissarybarbecue.com in Collierville and Germantown. And they appreciate you, Walker Taylor. You've done it the right way, and we appreciate you so much. And don't forget about the desserts, the best lemon icebox pie I've ever had anywhere, and the terrific banana pudding at either commissary, Collierville Commissary, Houston Levy, and Poplar are the original in Germantown. When we come back, we will talk Tiger basketball. That's up next on Sportstime.
Same great shows.
We welcome you back to Sports 56 Middays.
What's up? It's Sports 56 Happy Hour.
A new spot on the FM dial. Check out Sports 56 on our new FM home at 98.5.
Farmers Insurance knows that there's a not-so-subtle difference between the sound of a car hitting your rear bumper and the sound of a clown car hitting your rear bumper.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Sorry about that.
We call that a 3-ring fender bender, and we covered it. Talk to a farmer's agent.
They know a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two.
Call Chad Gatlin at 901-235-1176 or get a fast quote at memphisfarmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
You went online to switch your car insurance to Progressive so you could save money. But then you saw a friend request from an old summer camp buddy. And now here you are, clicking through photos of his kickball team from 2011. Looks like they won the championship that year. Then he moved to Tulsa. Oh, a new tattoo. Yes, they said it was easy to save hundreds on car insurance with Progressive, but they forgot about the rest of the internet. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average savings by new customer surveyed who saved in 2019.
Hey folks, I'm Jarrett Carter. My family recently purchased East Memphis Ace Hardware at Quince and White Station, and we're excited to offer the best selection of Big Green Egg and Traeger grills. And then don't forget about our Benjamin Moore Paint Studio and the Garden Center for flowers. Save 60% with our new Duracell key fob replacement program. We have a master locksmith service as well as glass cutting and screen repair. East Memphis Ace Hardware, located at Quince and White Station behind Three Little Pigs.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses will buy a house in any area, in any condition, and yes, it's guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your home quickly, call 901-406-1101. If you've been through a divorce, if you lost your job, if you're tired of renters, I Buy Houses can get you your money quickly. I Buy Houses will buy your home in Shelby County, DeSoto County, Memphis, Bartlett, South Haven, Horn Lake, Olive Branch, anywhere and everywhere in between in any condition. And yes, they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that pen, 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Again, as we started the show back at 3 o'clock, no Dave with us today, and sadly, we will not hear Dave tonight calling the action of the Tigers and Central Florida. That action was going to be in Orlando, where the Tiger basketball team and the very small official traveling party, they were there. They're trying to make their way back now, as it was canceled on the Central Florida end over the virus, over positives and contact tracing and the contact tracing issue. And now, I'm dealing with that, as we talked about yesterday. I'm fine, but I'm dealing with the contact tracing of you don't want to get near anybody for a few days after you've been around someone that ended up tested positive. That's no scarlet letter, no black eye, no aspersion cast on that person. They couldn't help it. They sure didn't want it.
They didn't.
But after that, you've got to be really steadfast and diligent in staying away from anybody. I mean, to go and get food last night, I wore gloves and a mask to the drive-up window and told the person that I'm trying to stay away because of contact tracing, that I'm fine, but I was around someone. They handed the food out in a tray.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it easier so that way there's no chance of having to possibly touch hands like that. And when it comes to the contact tracing and being safe, and I had the scare back in July, had some minor stuff, but nothing to where I felt that I was in close enough contact with somebody, or it was basically somebody I knew was with somebody they knew type of 3 or 4 degrees away, as to where I wasn't that worried about it.
But be careful.
Yeah, I am definitely. I have been as careful as I think I possibly can be through all this. But you can't really blame people for getting it. I mean, this is a global pandemic. Nobody wants to get sick. Nobody wants to be quarantined to their house for 5 to 7 days, or 5 to 10 days, I believe is what it's at now. Nobody wants to do that, but it's just the world that we live in, and until we get enough needles and shoulders, it's the world we're going to have to stay in.
And the Tigers, they need to play. They wanted to play the game. They were prepared to play it, canceled on postponed rather, on the UCF front, and now the Tigers may play kind of on the fly this weekend as the league's trying to work things out for them. As scheduled, won't play again until January 14th. That's a week from Thursday night against SMU. A good SMU team will come in to Memphis. So far this year for the Tigers, I'm seeing what everybody else is seeing. It's no super trained eye that I'm seeing something that most people aren't seeing. It's a team that really doesn't have an identity. It's a team that in the offensive end, they don't have anybody they can chunk it to and say, go get us a hoop or get us some harm or get both for us. They don't really have a dominant defender. And I think this team's confidence, Drew, was like a lot of people, especially a lot of young people, it needed bolstering, and it became even more fragile after South Dakota, after going 1-2 up there.
Yeah, it's been a really, really rocky as far as confidence and just consecutive play with this Tigers team. And I don't think maybe it is the year of 2020. You know, you didn't get to do all the things you wanted to in the offseason. You didn't have the big preseason stuff. You didn't have the expedition games to get going and everything that every other team has dealt with. But the consistency just has not been there for literally anybody on the team. There's not been a guy through this start of the season that you can point out and say, I know what he's going to give me. And until you at least have two guys like that, the confidence just isn't there, not only I think for fans but for the players themselves.
Yeah, and for Coach Hardaway to draw up a play, go get me a bucket. It's, down the stretch of last year before the conference tournament was pulled, it was largely Precious Achiuwa with some others that could make some shots. I think the closest thing to it, where would this? I know what this team would be. It would be 4-6 without Lester Quinones. He largely won the Tulane game and the South Florida game at home.
Yeah, he did. And while he won those games, it's not like he really played that great though in either of them. Yes, for the South Florida game, obviously the big three at the end was huge, but I believe had about 10 points. It was the only three that he had made all night. So while he did technically win you those games, it's not like he was above and beyond better than anybody else on the floor.
But had to have him, and had
you
to
did.
have him to have
it's
those,
a win. A win
those
is
6
a win.
wins. Would be at 500 or below without those two efforts. And, much like the Lance Thomas games from last year, let's hope that we don't look back at the end of this year and that was just Lester Quinones games. It was more the norm than the exception. But Tiger basketball not playing tonight. We will miss it, but we will keep up with the Grizzlies tonight as they host the world champion Los Angeles Lakers at FedEx Forum. That game tips at 7. Well, on the schedule it says 7. But we know that's really 7:10. So, Drew, you got some time to hustle downtown to FedEx Forum to keep an eye on that game for us tonight. I'm sure staying away tonight, and probably going to stay away most of the year, as I talked about yesterday, for anything indoors, just to be on the safer side. 1 hour down. When we come back, we start hour number 2. We talk college football and the story that's breaking at this very moment, the possibility of the national championship game being delayed. We do that as we start hour number 2 next with Brent Beard.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
2021 is finally here. Might I suggest we start the wonderful new year with a makeover for your beautiful house. I'm Brian Elder. I'm a roofer. I fix roofs. Don't let them tell you that it has to be replaced when all it may need is some love. 867-0303. Let me love on your roof. I've made quite the reputation over the last decade as the guy to call after the insurance company denies the claim. Overturning a claim that has gone bad is an art form where you argue county code, manufacturer specs, and details of your policy that they have to abide by. So let me see it first. If I say it's a claim, it's a claim. 867-0303. Money is free at Brian Elder Roofing with 0% financing for half a decade. I'll measure your roof from outer space and get you a quote right over the phone. 867-0303 or BrianElderRoofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic today at 901-443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
You know what sounds good? Fresh sandwiches and salads, homemade soups and desserts. And you know where to find all this delicious food? Paradise Cafe at Poplar and Ridgeway in the Regalia Shopping Center. The name says it all. Paradise Cafe makes their food fresh. Salads, sandwiches, cookies, and brownies. Hand-selected fruit, pimento cheese, even 4 kinds of chicken salad. The homemade soups change daily. They're said to be the best in the city. Try the signature turkey burger on ciabatta or shrimp salad on a croissant. Then top it off with a low-fat shake. Paradise Cafe has 11 kinds. Paradise Cafe, open Monday through Saturday, 10:30 to 2:30. Observing current social distancing guidelines with patio seating. Curbside pickup and delivery are also available. Fresh and homemade for you. That's Paradise Cafe in the heart of East Memphis at Poplar and Ridgeway inside the Regalia Shopping Center. You know what sounds good? Paradise Cafe.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, W253DF Memphis, and WIVG Tunica Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Ocean and Brett Norsworthy.
As we said, Dave's not with us today, and you're not going to hear him on the Tiger game tonight as it's been postponed. People have heard that news during the day, and we lament over it. We're sad over it. Looking forward to a Hoop City kind of night tonight with the Tigers playing down in Orlando and the Grizzlies at home at FedEx Forum. Drew will be going to the FedEx Forum tonight to watch the Grizzlies and the Lakers. We'll talk a lot more about that the rest of the day and a lot tomorrow to see if the Grizzlies can get their record to 3-4 as they are now 2-4 and 15 out of 15 in the Western Conference of the NBA. Joining us now to talk college football and for me to wish a very, very happy new year to our friend Brent Beard. You can follow Brent on Twitter at Brent Beard, BrentBeard, Brent Beard. He's college football analyst for First Coast News, Heisman Trophy voter, and our guest every Tuesday afternoon to talk college football. So I know the drill from the Heisman people. I'm going to violate it a little bit, Brent, when we're signing off tonight at about 5:55. Right. I'm going to give my 1, 2, and 3 because tonight Alabama's going to win another Heisman Trophy. That's pretty much a fact, isn't it?
Yeah,
Good afternoon. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you guys too. I think you're right about that. I think it's just going to be whether it's going to be Mac Jones or Devonta Smith. It looks like Devonta is the favorite right now. I am curious though, guys, who the third one will be. Aren't you?
I am. I know who it. I've already swung and missed on my second place vote since it's been announced that he's fifth. I've said it. I voted Najee Harris second because I wanted to give some love, and I don't. But if I had any player of the year vote in the NFL, I would vote for Derrick Henry for MVP because I want to give some love to those running backs, those every down running backs during this flag football pass happy era.
Well, let me say this. Even as a longtime Heisman voter, we really need to look at what we're doing. I don't know if we will. Look, I'm proud to be associated with the award, but I think what we morphed into, Brett, to help me on this, is the best player on the best team, and I get that, but I also get where I'm also okay if the best player is on a team that's lost 4 or 5 games too. So, and look, you're not going to change the criteria. I know we all know what that is, but it is for quite a while become a quarterback award. So now Devonta Smith wins. That will change that a little bit. But and listen, I wish we'd be able to talk about who we voted for during the week. You remember we used to be able to do that, and I think that would give the award probably a lot of publicity it may not get this week.
Yeah, I don't think it will, especially with it being virtual. But you're right; it has kind of turned into a quarterback award, and the quarterback award for the quarterback of the best team. And kind of off of that, if it should just be the best player, do you think there kind of should be more group of 5 inclusion?
Oh yeah. I mean that in all areas. the college football playoff expanded to 8, the Heisman Trophy. Yes, to answer your question, how realistic that is, I think is another story right now. Will the voters look at guys who are really doing well with in the non-Power 5? Now, Brett and I will remember this, and I'll think of his name in a minute. But Brett, who is the Cornell running back that everybody was in love with? He didn't win.
Ed Marinero.
Thank you. That actually ended up being a television and movie star.
Big time sitcom star, and was a decent player, largely special teams with Bud Grant's Minnesota Vikings, and appeared in a Super Bowl. But boy, there was a push for Ed Marinero at one time, wasn't it?
Listen, they're really, and people are probably driving on the interstate right now and thinking,
might as well be talking about the Peloponnesian War. Is Ed Marinero?
Oh yeah, but there was yes, there were. And look. There were a lot, Brett, you remember, there were a lot of people who really liked Ed and what he'd done. And again, we understand it was in the Ivy League and all that. But
I like Ed too, but he didn't deserve to win.
No.
Like Gordy Lockbaum.
Yeah, but it was fascinating to see that.
But I tell you one candidacy, and especially now with the passage of time and being able to look back, and hindsight being what it is, I don't even want to mention 2020 with hindsight, but after the year we just had with 2020. Yeah. But Steve McNair, that deserved a lot more consideration then and now.
No question. I think that's very true. But look, again, I don't know what we need to kind of do with this. I know
you're going to hate my ballot, Brent, when I tell you what it is.
I know.
Because not only is it the best team, it's all from the best team.
Yeah. Well, look, and you can make an argument for that too. I don't think there's any question about that. But I also appreciate Rick Neuheisel does not a Heisman, but a Greisman, which is the best players from the non-Power 5. So. So I agree. I'd like to see them get their due more than they do.
Yeah, I would too. And breaking about an hour ago, the outbreak of somewhat of an outbreak with the Ohio State football program of COVID. What are your thoughts on the possibility of them moving back the national championship game to give Ohio State more time to heal up from COVID issues?
Well, I mean, that's out there. The principals for the moment are saying that we are just watching this. Bill Hancock is saying that. Kevin Warren is saying that. As for now, the game is on. I mean, smartly they.
Kristen Saban is weighed in as well.
Yeah, she's not buying that for a minute. Yes, in her tweets about. They just want their quarterback to get healthy, meaning Ohio State. So, and believe me, there are more than a few media who believe the same thing as she does. But your reality of this is, I mean, I'm glad they had the alternate with this. And guys, look, and I get the NFL thing, and I've thought about this over the last few years. I wish they had this game on Saturday instead of on Monday night. I get the TV ratings and all that stuff, and I know that's when we have the national championship in basketball too. But I tell you, are we helping our brand though, guys, by starting at 8:00 on basically a school night, and people got to go to work the next day? Tell me if that'll ever change, Brett. But that's what we're dealing with right now.
I'm afraid it won't, Brent, because I'm convinced, because they toed the note, and really this year showed it more than any of, heck, us fans in the stands, we're mere props. We got to have those rights fees. We got to have that. We got to have that TV money, and that's a shame. Now, yes, we will get back, and they will need us. They need the ticket sales, and they need the donations. But the last thing they can afford to lose is TV. Brent, I've said if TV told us kickoff's at 4:17 a.m. on June 17th, that's when we're kicking off.
And there's no question about it. And you know, that's what that's that famous Bobby Bowden quote of if TV's playing. It tells us we're playing at 12, we're playing if it's noon or midnight.
That's right. And, Brent, we both can remember the time, well, it's a long time ago now, but well into the 70s, kickoff was set by the schools, and TV arranged around that. Bowls were set
what?
by the
that
bowls.
was a thing?
Oh, I promise you, Drew. I promise you. And 1 o'clock was a very popular kickoff time for just about everybody, especially as you got later in the year. Might have had a little more front-loaded night games, you know, while it was hot, and then after the sun go down, cool off and all that good stuff. And then later in the year, 1 o'clock was a thing. And, we're playing at 1, and you'll accommodate us, but not now.
Yeah.
And that's
I
long over.
And you probably remember this real quick. I sat in Legion Field many a day when Simpson Pepper, the PA announcer, would say official Legion Field time 12:30. 30 minutes before the kickoff. You remember that?
Exactly. And the first time I ever went to Legion Field, it was for a Notre Dame game. I'm going to say 1980, Brent. And I had to stop and call my parents about every 75 miles and tell them where I was. And I was doing, nothing like it is now. But that game was at an odd time. That game was like 1:30.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know it.
But
it was.
Getting to Birmingham from these parts in those days was quite the circuitous route. We're talking college football with our friend Brent Beard down in Jacksonville. All right, Brent, the SEC 6-2. What Florida did and what Dan Mullen talked about afterwards, I thought was disgraceful. Here's what I want you to respond to. Whenever, whether he leaves for the pros or if they have to at some point move away from him or part ways with him, Scott Strickland needs to be held to some account, doesn't he, for some of the Dan Mullen actions, because nobody in the sport knew him any better than Scott did when he hired him.
Yeah, well, look, they're really – and this has been quite the subject down here, as you can imagine. Now, most people think he is just trying to get an extension and a raise because and again, our buddy Jimmy Sexton is his agent, and he's just looking out for him. But look, we've talked about this a lot down here in the off season, and Brent and Drew, I don't know who can do this, but somebody needs to sit down with Dan, and they need to say, Dan, look, we probably don't need any more Darth Vader's outfits in the post game, and we don't need any calling our team, the scout team, after the bowl game. And we don't need more dust-ups at halftime either.
Well, then you're asking him to not be himself, and Scott Strickland knew the Dan Mullen that he hired.
Sure. Well, look, and I'm not saying that he's got to be a robot and get away from everything that he does, but the thing I'm saying is that there's some of that culture they need to look at. And they don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but there's a few of those things that before he says them, he needs to think twice.
Yeah, I think he definitely does. It seems like it's gotten worse throughout his time at Florida. Brent, obviously Georgia was able to pull off the win against Cincinnati. Thought since he had them late, but Georgia ultimately able to hit the field goal to win the game with, I think, like 2 seconds left to go in the Peach Bowl. Let's say Cincy had won. Would it have been treated like Central Florida beating Auburn?
That's a good question. I mean, that there have been a lot of people who would have said, well, Georgia had a lot of guys who opted out and they didn't play, like Ben Cleveland, Trey McKitty, Monty Rice, etc. look, they had enough talent there in that game where they were able to catch back up and be able to win it. But I do think in some ways, Cincy would have gotten a lot of credit for what they did and how they played. Man, they played hard and they played smart, and they left it all on the field. And in many ways, should have won that game. Oh yeah, absolutely. Now,
the Georgia offensive line, Matt Luke's offensive line, could not move them around. Only rushed for 45 yards and stood toe to toe. Now, the Georgia defensive front kind of had its way with the Cincinnati offensive line, especially after the penalty for the player for targeting. And as the game wore on, you saw the depth of a Power 5 conference.
Yeah, in the last, 3 series for Cincinnati, left to be something to be desired. But, look, overall, I got to give them a lot of credit. They played well. I think they showed that they certainly belonged. J.T. Daniels did throw up 400 yards on him. But by the way, he's saying he's coming back as of today. So that will certainly ease Kirby Smart's mind to some degree. But look, I would have to give them a solid B or A- on their performance overall.
Another poor performance offensively by Auburn. Brent, I'm going to say it. Brian Harsin needs to find him a quarterback before the 2021 season. Bo Nix ain't it.
No. And listen, Brent, what I've been told from Auburn and Alabama beat writers in the state, they realize, and particularly the fans do, that the fans have seen enough of Bo as they saw enough of Gus, and they want to get either Harsin to get him to lay some fundamentals down with his footwork, or just go.
Now, he has been horribly coached by Gus. He really has. It's been coaching malpractice by Gus.
Yes, yeah, and Brett, I'll be honest with you. The thing for Gus is there's a lot of questions about. Well, why don't Gus be the offensive coordinator for this team or that team? Look, the reality is, I'm telling you, Auburn offensively, particularly his last 2 or 3, 4 years, really struggled. The quarterback situation, which he's supposed to be a quarterback whisperer, frankly, was not developed at all. So there are a lot of questions for Gus as he leaves that team.
I wouldn't touch him if I'm a head coach on a staff because he was such a he was such a malcontent on Houston Nutt staff, and at the end for Gene Chizik, he's such a locker room cancer. I wouldn't dare touch him. No.
But look, I'm with you on Bo. Either Bo's a different guy.
It's over for Bo and it's over for Gus.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say he's a different guy with Harsin, and they know that in the spring. Or he's in the transfer portal shortly after spring practice is over.
Yeah, that's the way it definitely looks like it's going to shape up for Bo Nix. Brent, maybe it just got lost with all the many things that have happened since we've last had you on and over the weekend in college football, especially in the SEC. But with the big fight, again, with Mississippi State and Tulsa, has the SEC released any statement about what kind of punishment State is going to possibly face? Because, I mean, let's face it. I mean, it was both sides, but that kick and run looked really bad.
I've heard nothing on that, frankly. And I'll be – look, and again, as we've said in this segment many times, the two most important things to the SEC, number one is their money. Number two is their image, and Sankey could not have been happy with that at all. But Drew, to answer your question, I don't know how they're going to handle that yet. Now that may come quietly, or and something's dealt with as far as whoever had eligibility is suspended or the school's fined. I don't know what it might be, or Sankey may decide that he wants to make an example when the national championship game is over and things settle down, and he makes that announcement later. But guys, unless you've heard something more than I have, and I'm like you, I'm on Twitter seem like it's every 5 minutes. nothing has come down about that yet.
I can tell y'all, just imagine being at the Ole Miss team hotel at a bowl game, and that game's on about 6 different TVs as that brawl is breaking out. You can imagine the commentary. Brent Beard, Brent Beard, our guest with us from Jacksonville, talking college football. You know, I hadn't been too, we weren't on in the days right after it, and I hadn't been too rough about it, except for the player that did kick the player. But the rest of it, I hadn't been that rough about it because for this reason, it was a little bit like the Justin Turner reaction after the World Series. How many different ways can it be criticized, castigated, cut down, run down? How many different ways can Trevor Maddox calling for the police should be involved? No, Trevor. That's why we have rules. They were broken, obviously. But let's let our schools and our leagues police that and leave the real police to doing other things. But I just saw a lot of people on their pious high horse wanting to criticize Tulsa and Mississippi State, particularly the player. I don't want to call his name. People know who it was. They know. But, I mean, I just saw a lot of self-righteousness in the criticism.
Well, listen, some of these folks want to throw these kids in jail. But look.
Maddox did.
Yeah. There are things like this that happen all the time. Listen, there's probably worse stuff than this happens in practice sometimes for some of these schools. But I'm with Brett on that. The schools really need to deal with that. And frankly, even if the league makes some kind of suggestion, and that may be how they handle it. They just say, "Look, guys, you handle this. If you want to talk about it with us, we'll do that." And again, unless Sankey wants to make an example out of the situation somehow, but I'm sure of this. I bet it will be addressed behind closed doors at some of the coaches and AD meetings when everybody gets together.
I bet it will be as well. Brent, thank you so much. Look forward to visiting each and every Tuesday as we have for years and years and years now. Happy New Year to you, and thank you, and we'll do it again next week.
Always, guys. Happy New Year to you. Take care.
Thanks, Brent.
Brent Beard talking college football with us. Drew, I've said through the years, I think you can vouch for me. Anybody that's listening and knows me, I have on whether it's NCAA comes a-calling, and not just because it was Ole Miss. It was years before it was Ole Miss, I would say. Don't be so happy when School X gets in trouble because tomorrow's screaming headline could be you. It could be your team. It could be your favorite school. It could be someone that, and the same thing on the discipline front. Look, it was a bad look how that ended. I'm not defending it. I just don't want to say the same thing over and over again that got said for about 10 hours that night with such piousness and again self-righteousness that I thought was over the top. I'm glad a lot of those people are perfect. I really am.
glad they're able to cast the first stone, right?
And for people going, well, look at Mississippi State, but by the grace of the Almighty, the next time out, it could be your team in any sport.
It really could, and you have said that for years. I mean, as long as I've known you, you've always said that don't get too high on when somebody else gets in trouble because you're exactly right. The next day it could be you. And one thing that Brent said there that could be a possibility of Greg Sankey, making an example of Mississippi State to kind of weed out any of this in the future in the SEC because they do obviously second to most important thing to them is their image and just how much it means to be in the SEC. And when you hear that, we're going to make an example of them. We're going to make an example. We're going to make an example for it to never happen again. Has it ever actually worked? Has making an example of somebody, has throwing the book at somebody ever stop somebody from doing it in the future? I mean, if that was the case, then the death penalty would have fixed all of murder. I mean, let's just be honest. Making an example out of somebody, hurting them worse, isn't going to stop anything happening in the future. This stuff is still going to happen, so you shouldn't come out with the high and mightiness of you and we have to make an example of this. We have to show the younger generation that this is not okay. The next group of players cannot act this way. It's football. They're going to act that way. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Fights happen in football. I mean, heck, we saw a fight, a little tussle on Sunday Night Football against two Eagles players arguing over, as Chris Collinsworth said, who gets to go in next.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I was ready to scream. I was ready to explode at all the. I mean, at every halftime show, at every break, they had to go back to it and show it and regurgitate the same thing. And just all the haughtiness around it, and it was not a good look. But how many different ways can you cast?
I would have died of alcohol poisoning if I took a sip of beer every time I heard unacceptable. Just the word unacceptable. I would have had 50 beers in a matter of 2 hours and died.
And again, I'm not defending it no more than I defended Justin Turner not being out there as a COVID positive with a mask on for the celebration of the World Series. But what are we going to do? Put him in stocks over it? There's not
throw lettuce at him?
There's not one case, not one transmission case. Nothing came from Justin Turner doing it. Yeah, it was reckless. Shouldn't have done it. It was
bad optics.
It was all those things. But do we have to say it for 5 days?
No.
And I got sick and tired of hearing some of the just ivory tower perfect people in the world when I bet they're not so perfect.
No, I know I'm not perfect, so you will not see me even pick up a stone, let alone attempt to throw it.
Now, lost in that for Mississippi State, unfortunately, was how they closed out the season.
Yeah, good
win.
I
tried to make that point a time or two. They found something late in the year with the great effort down at Athens, the almost just shy of the comeback, ball in the air when the horn's going off in the Egg Bowl, and then the rout of Mizzou, and to get the win over Tulsa that I thought was a really good team. Unfortunately, that was lost. I think if Mike Leach can kind of reset everything at Mississippi State, he will be fine in time and mostly accomplish with this year, this kind of throwaway year in college football, what he wanted to accomplish. We're going to switch to the NFL. We do that next. We talk NFL with Jeff Moore on Sportstime.
You have opinions?
I think they got a lot of athletic ability.
We want to hear them.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you.
Call us on the First Bank phone line at 360-8255 or text us on the First Bank text line at 67129.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Ben Swinger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 125 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Ben Swinger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. 2 Memphis locations, one in Midtown on Hollywood Street across from the Liberty Bowl, and one in Cordova off Germantown Parkway next to the Fox and Hound. Visit their website, benswingerglass.com. Ben Swinger Glass.
Hi, folks. Good news from the Chevy Sheriff. The Sunrise Chevy Ranch is 12 years old, so fire up the old jalopy and get on down here, because there's a saving shindig going on at Sunrise Chevy. Acres of new Chevys, huge discounts, 0% financing, and rebates up to $6,000. Got bad credit? It's okay. At Sunrise, we've got a financing plan for everybody. Need body work? Find new roads to Sunrise. The Chevy Sheriff has put an end to high prices, and the word's out. Chevy's cost less at Sunrise. 385 in Houston, Levy, and Collierville. Specializing in cars and trucks under $10,000 and monthly payments under $200.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We have all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, there are aerial pictures that are taken every 4 years that can be used to measure a building, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof or even if you need one by using pictures that might be 4 years old. If you would rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, please give me a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best customer service we know how to provide. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
You already know you can listen to Sports 56 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also watch live video of all our shows on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. Don't miss out on anything. Stay in touch with Sports 56, 98.5, and 96.1 on social media. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Well, I'm almost thinking it's me after my long outage around the holidays. Get back yesterday with Dave, gangs all together again. Dave talking about it feels good to have the whole team back, and then today he's out with me. But he promises he'll be back tomorrow. We're going to have a long run starting tomorrow together because the Tigers won't play again, scheduled for a while. But they may have some action this weekend that's not on the schedule as the AAC tries to get all the games in. But we know this weekend, we think we know in the NFL there will be 3 games on Saturday, and we think we know there will be 3 on Sunday, with the final game on Sunday being the Cleveland Browns back in the playoffs for the first time in a long time against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But they are dealing with a lot of COVID issues. Kevin Stefanski will not be on the sidelines for that game to talk the NFL. He's been with us all season long on Tuesdays this time. Jeff Moore joins us now. Jeff, Happy New Year, and I'm looking really forward to the 3 games on Saturday, and we hope the 3 games on Sunday.
Well, Happy New Year to you, and I am looking forward to those games as well. In that first game, Brett, with the Buffalo Bills playing is that the first game? The Buffalo Bills and
the Colts at 12. At 12, yeah.
Yeah, that I'm looking forward to that game because I feel like those 2 teams, particularly Buffalo. I mean, if you think about it, you take away that incredible catch in the Arizona game at the Hail Mary catch. This team, the Buffalo Bills, would have won. They'd have an incredible win streak going into this game. Now, 7 games is pretty good already, but I'm starting to like this Buffalo Bills team, frankly, a little bit better than the Chiefs. And because, to me, they're a little more balanced. But we'll just have to see. This will be a good test for them because I really like the Colts' defense, and I think this will be a good test for them. But this Buffalo team is, to me, a very formidable team, the way they play on both sides of the ball.
Just staying in the AFC, obviously talked about before we brought you on, Kevin Stefanski won't be on the sidelines for the Browns, having to play the Pittsburgh Steelers back-to-back weeks. Ultimately, different Pittsburgh team with Big Ben, but do the Browns get the kind of sliding Steelers in back-to-back weeks?
Boy, it's gonna be, it's tough. I mean, I think the win for Pittsburgh in not this past game, but the game before was huge for them because they were really starting to doubt themselves a little bit, and they really, frankly, had not been playing well. I think it was good to sit Ben, and I think it's good that the Steelers kind of have a little psychological edge as far as the Browns are concerned. I think the fact that the Browns have not been to the playoffs in a long time, and certainly not a lot of the players, most of the players on this roster have not, I think bodes well for the Steelers. I give the Steelers an edge because of their experience, but I think it is going to hurt the Browns not to have their head coach on the sideline and possibly a couple of key players as a result of the COVID protocol.
Yeah, and with Baker Mayfield, it's really something what he's been able to do in his 3 years with Cleveland, and it's not as highlighted as some of some quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield this season joined Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck as the only quarterbacks in their first 3 years to record at least 3,500 yards and 20 touchdown passes. And that's with Cleveland. Now, I know both Peyton and Andrew Luck took over tough spots in Indianapolis. Peyton maybe a little tougher than the one that Andrew Luck inherited. But how come Baker Mayfield doesn't get quite the acclaim that some of the other young quarterbacks? Is he a little too Johnny Manziel-ous?
No, I think the biggest thing for Baker Mayfield is that last year was I think just a tough year for him. He kind of regressed a little bit last year, but I think he really has learned a lot. He's settled down. He's making better decisions with the football. There's no comparison in terms of turnovers with this year compared to last year. He's just become a better quarterback. He was good his first year. He regressed a little bit last year, but he's had a great year this year, and I think he just kind of flies a little under the radar, if you can consider that under the radar given the kind of commercials and things that he does off the field. But I think that's part of the reason why he doesn't get the recognition for the kind of career he's put together so far. I like what he's doing and what he's done. And frankly, I think it's amazing to see with who I think is their best receiver, Beckham, OBJ being hurt early in the season or midway and them having to lose him. So that running game needs to get back to track for them to have a chance. But he's had a good year.
And Jeff, you know this. I bet you knew it at 7th grade football. Coaching matters. Adult supervision with Kevin Stefanski versus that of a guy I really like, Freddie Kitchens.
Yeah. I mean, it does. And, of course, it matters, especially in this case because he did a lot of play calling on the field in the game situations. But it matters when you're getting your team ready to play prior to the game, at halftime when you make your adjustments. I mean, it is a big deal. I think there'll be some communication, but it's just not the same thing as being right there in the action.
Jeff, one matchup that kind of confuses me, and I don't really know which way to go. I mean, obviously, you look on just record and paper, it should be obvious. I'm talking about the 3 versus 6 in the NFC, Seattle versus the Rams. We don't know if Jared Goff will play this weekend, but he obviously didn't play last weekend, and they were able to get the win over Arizona. Do I have merit in being confused, or should I just go with the obvious and say, yeah, Seattle's a better football team, better record, they should win?
Well, I guess one of the things that's always a challenge, especially when it gets to playoff time, is when division opponents play each other because, their regular season records tend to be somewhat set aside when they play each other because they're so familiar. And I think the playoffs is kind of the same thing. I believe it's a big deal that Jared Goff, if he plays, he's not going to be 100%. And that's going to be important for the Rams. But the Rams' defense, I think, is the key to this game. They put a lot of pressure on Russell Wilson whenever they played him. They are going to have to do that to have a chance to win. I like Seattle because of the fact that they do have Russell Wilson, and he's been playing out of his mind lately. But it's going to be a test because the Rams' defense tends to play Seattle pretty good.
That's a great point about a division playoff matchup because they got a great book on both teams. Talking NFL with Jeff Moore, who played for the Los Angeles Rams, first tour of duty with the Rams before they moved to St. Louis, and a great Tennessee volunteer, and he's been with us through all these years since 1992, talking NFL football with us on Tuesdays. At some point, it ends for everybody, and Drew Brees has mostly called this shot that the next loss, if it's before Super Bowl Sunday or if he gets that far, however it falls out on Super Bowl Sunday, that will be it for him. 11 broken ribs. This week they play the Bears. The Bears with a good defense. Any upset alert for the Saints as a 10-point favorite over Dave's Bears?
Man, I think the Saints better be ready to play because, of course, when it gets down to playoffs versus regular season, you can kind of not put as much emphasis on those records. And the Bears, even though they've been up and down, They're a formidable team defensively. They're really a hard team to kind of figure offensively. If the Saints do what they do, I think play within themselves, they should be fine. Alvin Kamara is just, I think, playing out of his mind right now. I think they'll do. Drew Brees will do what he normally does. I think they'll be fine against the Bears this weekend.
Jeff, I want to go back to the Bills real quick because it's something that you said. Obviously, they're riding that great winning streak, and we've seen teams come into the playoffs with long winning streaks. I mean, heck, just go back last year with the Baltimore Ravens, who entered the divisional round with the number 1 seed, winning 12 straight games. Is there any actual merit to, well, I wish we would have lost a game or two, get that streak monkey off our back, it kind of would have helped us learn some things about ourselves? Or is that just an excuse teams make when they lose?
I think it's an excuse teams make when they lose. I'm not concerned about Buffalo in that regard because this is a team that's been building since they got their quarterback, since they got that coaching staff in place, and you see the improvement year to year. This is another step for them, and they're balanced. You just don't see them play a bad game. They haven't played a bad game in a long time. I think they're going to be formidable, and I think they'll play well. The fact that they've won or they're on a winning streak won't matter. I think their coaching staff will have them ready to play.
Tom Brady, with absolutely nothing left to prove as a football player. This year, over 4,600 yards passing, 40 touchdowns. But Saturday, they go on the road to play the division winner Washington. What a quarterback matchup. Alex Smith and his story against Tom Brady and his prolific story, Jeff.
Man, it is great. It is, not to mention, not to forget their coach, Ron Rivera, and the challenge he had this year dealing with cancer while he was trying to coach this team. And then, of course, the NFC least that we've called them most of the year, the struggles that they had in the division. I like what Tampa's doing, and what I see, frankly, is just Tom Brady getting more on the same page with his receivers, which I anticipated was going to happen eventually. He's just a gamer, and the playoffs is where he, frankly, has made his reputation as far as I'm concerned. They'll be ready to play. I think they'll throw the ball all over the yard. I like that Washington has a good pass rush. I don't know that it'll matter this weekend, though. I think that the fact that Tampa has Tom Brady calling the shots, they're going to be, I think, very formidable. And then Antonio Brown, I mean, let's give him credit. He's come in and kept his head on straight, been very productive. And I like Tampa, especially against the Redskins this weekend.
And that may end up proving to be one of the big late-season acquisition or in-season acquisitions for Bruce Arians. Everybody in the league calls him BA to pick up AB, Antonio Brown. Jeff Moore, we'll do it again next Tuesday as we'll pare it down and get into just 2 games on Saturday and Sunday next week, but we got a full one on Saturday and Sunday this week with 3 each, and we'll talk about it with you next week. Thank you, Jeff, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Look forward to it.
Thanks, Jeff.
You got it. Jeff Moore talking NFL with us, and those games this weekend, 12:05, 3:40, and 7:15 on Saturday. Same drill on Sunday with Sunday night's game. The Browns right now with all their issues at the Steelers, that game will be on NBC. The Saturday night game will be on NBC as well. So I bet Mike Tirico will be doing one, and Al Michaels on the other. Happy New Year from Jason's Deli, the Memphis group of Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway Road, Poplar and Highland, Olive Branch, and Cordova. Almost 200 area Memphis associates with Jason's Deli. They want to thank you for the 2020 year. They know it was challenging, but they also are very hopeful for things to come in 2021. They know how it's starting in the restaurant business. They've been through it, and that's why they know they know they can do it. They know they can step up to the challenge, and they appreciate you. Again, everything pickup, everything takeout, everything safe, everything contactless, very limited in the restaurant, but all the same great food that you can get, and you can get to go, and you can get it right now. The salads, the Mesa chicken salad, chicken club salad, the nutty mixed up salad, the Big Chef salad, all those sandwiches like the beef eater, the hot corned beef sandwich that so many say is the best sandwich in town. Corned beef's not one of my favorites, but everybody tells me that it's their favorite, that the best place to get it is at Jason's Deli. I love the chili. I love the soups. We talked about the salads. I love the chili at Jason's Deli. Doesn't that sound good for like right now? Go back and get that. Take it home. That way nobody's got to cook tonight. Let Jason's Deli do it for you. At Ridgeway Road, Poplar and Highland, Olive Branch, and Cordova. Trans fat-free food, all about choice at Jason's Deli, regardless. If you seek a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, or healthy kids' meals, if you'd like to invent your sandwich, you can via the Build Your Own. You will be delighted at Jason's Deli. Right now, if you're in the restaurant, you can still wrap it up with the complimentary ice cream, the salad bar. It's been over 30 items to choose from, and all last year, really starting from March on, they'll do it for you. They will prepare it however you want it, whatever items you want in it, up to 30. They will prepare the salad just how you want it. At Jason's Deli, you can visit them online as well at jasonsdeli.com. When we come back, we rank the quarterbacks for this weekend, 1 through 14 in the NFL playoffs, and we want yours at 67129 at the First Bank text line or 360-8255 at the First Bank phone line. We will go 1 through 14 NFL quarterbacks for this weekend next.
Listen online anywhere, anytime at sports56whbq.com.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. The storms we've had over the past several months have been devastating to our communities. The rainy season is ahead. You may have not even noticed the dripping in your attic, water stains throughout your home, or even worse, mold and mildew. Please call Brian Elder Roofing and we will send out our project managers to assess any damage. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. We will measure your roof from outer space. 0% for 60 months, even no payments till 2022 are available with approved credit. If you've noticed missing shingles, water stains, leaks in your roof, call us before you call your insurance company at 867-0303. That's 867-0303, and we will provide a free, thorough inspection of your roof's condition.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Even in times like these, special occasions happen. And when an occasion calls for special, it calls for 117 Prime, Memphis's premier downtown dining destination. From the spectacular 36-ounce porterhouse paired with a Ferrari Carano Cabernet, to the jumbo lump crab cakes, to the raw bar with oysters fresh off the boat from the Gulf and the East Coast, there is simply no finer dining experience in Memphis than 117 Prime in the heart of downtown. These are complicated times, but if you want simply the best, you want 117 Prime.
Whether you're a pro on the job site or managing properties, clean and safe is your #1 priority, and Lowe's has the pro-grade cleaning supplies you need. We go beyond the basics, bringing you commercial cleaning from top brands like Clorox, Zep, and Rubbermaid, and in larger sizes so you can take on any cleaning job knowing you have the quantity you need. Shop Lowe'sForPros.com and have your items delivered or pick up in store. Lowe's, the new home for pros. U.S. only.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? Well, we have you covered at Humdinger's. It's quick and it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. With many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger's, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
All right, Drew, our 14 quarterbacks for the NFL playoffs this year. Again, Not Lifetime Achievement Award, not Meritorious Service Award, not trophies that they have in the trophy case, that we would draft them in this order to go out and win you games for this January 2021 and beyond, hopefully leading into Super Bowl 55, Super Bowl LV, the big Louis Vuitton version coming up in Tampa. I got to tell you, Saturday at Raymond James Stadium, I mean, literally as we were breaking down and getting out of there, the Buccaneers had to play on Sunday, but already Homeland Security, NFL people
really
coming in, because as soon as the Bucs game was over on Sunday, because it's very remote that they would host a playoff game. All the top seeds would have to lose since they're a wild card. NFL taking over that stadium from now through whenever they have that game, and we don't know that it'll be February 7th. But yeah, they were coming into the full takeover on Saturday and into Sunday after the Buccaneer game. All right, number one, I'm gonna go first. My one is Mr. Mahomes. Who's yours?
I don't think it's going to shock anybody. I'm going to also have Patrick Mahomes as my number one guy, and it kind of speaks for itself.
Number two for you.
Number two for me, I'm going with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, what he's been able to do this year with so few guys around him, he's just a clear-cut number two in my mind.
Clear cut. You set it up well. Double A-Rod for me as well. Number three, and I go with that 4,600 yards. I go with those 40 touchdowns. I think Tom Brady's getting ready to have maybe his most magical playoff run. Who's your three?
My three, I'm going with Josh Allen. Realistically, what he's been able to do in Buffalo, especially in these last weeks. If it wasn't for the Cardinals game, like Jeff said, they'd be coming in here riding the exact same, about a 10-game winning streak.
14-2.
Yeah, I mean he's played phenomenal, so he's my number three, and Tom Brady is my number four. So we just flip-flopped.
All right, so we're not gonna fall out over 3 or 4, are we?
No,
we're not gonna let that come between us.
I think we're fine.
I mean, we've made it through so much. We can't let that come between us, can we?
No, we can still be friends. We're good.
I mean, you're hanging some old janky golf banner that we know you didn't really win. I mean, you won the SEC season picking, but
no,
there's a golf banner.
There's a reason that the legitimate banner is technically higher than the golf picking banner, because I'll probably take it down. I'm probably going to take it down. We all know,
and most importantly, you know. Number 5 for me, Russell Wilson.
Number 5 for me, I'm going with Lamar Jackson. He's really hit his stride here lately, and the Ravens are entering the playoffs with another multi-game winning streak. So I've got Lamar, and the only quarterback to run for 1,000 yards back-to-back years.
Number 6 for you.
Number 6 for me. This was where it really got iffy. It really did. And while, yeah, he's got the 11 broken ribs. Yes, it's been rusty since he's came back. But I just still believe that if I had Drew Brees under center in a playoff game, I'm going to come away with a W. I got Drew Brees, and it might be a little bit built on merit, but I still think he'd be about 6 right there.
I mean, copy and paste on everything you just said, and this. One for the road. Win one for Drew. I think that matters a little bit. I have Drew Brees 6 as well. So far, except for you being an extreme homer, we haven't had anything.
The former, the defending MVP. The defending MVP. I'm being a homer at number 5. Okay.
That's right. Number 7 for me, and it really gets shaky. I don't even know his health status for Saturday. I don't know if we'll see the Arizona hotshot quarterback again. But if healthy and capable, a quarterback that did go to the Super Bowl just 2 years ago in Atlanta, I have Jared Goff.
I do not even have Jared Goff on my list. I went ahead and put John Wolford on my list. He's not at number 7, so no need to react like that. At number 7, I got Russell Wilson. He's still a great quarterback in the NFL, still very mobile, but just starting to go downhill. I think he's kind of reached his peak, and he's slowly coming down, but hey, his coming down is still a whole lot better than a lot of others' peaks, so you can't slide him so easy in the top 5.
We've gone 1 through 7. We're going to jump ahead and then work back to 7. So we're going to go down to 14.
Okay.
And I have Mitch Mitchell.
At 14, I do have the former Arizona Hotshots quarterback, John Wolford, just because he has one NFL start.
Number 13 for you.
Number 13, an ailing Alex Smith with the Washington football team.
I have him 12.
If Ron Rivera is actually seriously mulling over using two different quarterbacks in the wild card game this weekend, then you got to know Alex Smith's health is not where it should be, so he's at number 13.
I have 13, and preseason I picked him to win the Super Bowl. You're not going to win a Super Bowl with somebody you have at 13. I have Big Ben. I have Smith at 12. Who's your 12?
At number 12, that's where I put Mitch Mitchell, and the only reason he is 12 is because Alex Smith is barely walking, and John Wolford has had one NFL start, and I saw him play last year in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl in the Alliance of American Football League.
Now almost 2 years ago. Do you realize that?
2 years.
Coming up in February?
Oh, man,
yeah,
time
almost
flies.
2 years ago, we went through that, and boy, that whatever that was. Number 11 for me, Phillip Rivers on his way out.
Number 11 for me, and I think this kind of leans towards and makes Jeff's point very well. Obviously, I didn't do this after Jeff's point, but it makes his case very good. Baker Mayfield, I've got him at 11, and I think it's all of the talk that you always hear of you have to set Baker up. You got to get that run game going to set Baker up. If you don't set him up and you got to let him run the game and it's all on Baker's shoulders, you have no shot. We hear that narrative thrown out week after week after week, and it's been that way for a couple of years. So obviously just in my mind, that's where he would sit with that narrative.
For this year, I have Baker 9 and Lamar 10. Who do you have 9 and 10?
9 and 10. At 10, I put Phillip Rivers, and 9, I've got Big Ben. Playoff success has to count for something.
All right, so that leaves both of us with one left, and that's both of us have the quarterback for the Titans at 8, Ryan Tannehill, right?
Yes, sir. Ryan Tannehill is number 8. Yes.
Had to work out that way. And what he does with his legs gets lost. What he does with his arm gets lost. Most of that is Derrick Henry, naturally, and for good reason, and A.J. Brown emerging, Jonnu Smith good at tight end, but Tannehill keeps you in a position. He's more than just a functionary, but he almost won't blow a game, and he can win a game in more ways than I think people recognize.
I think you're exactly right. I think if we were going off of RPO type of quarterbacks, I think Ryan Tannehill would be a lot higher up on this list if that's the only basis that we're going off of. Because, I mean, the run-pass option from him is always there because he can do it with his legs pretty well.
More NFL coming up after the break, but before we go to this break, I want you to give me not just, never mind the point spread, just a shocking upset from this coming weekend. Do you have one? Because your Ravens wouldn't be an upset.
No,
that wouldn't be shocking.
The only shocking upset out there would have to be the football team over the Bucs, or even more shocking, Bears over Saints. That anything else wouldn't shock me.
That's the only two shockers.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about point spread. I think a lot of these underdogs can get in under the number, but to win the game in advance, it would be the team in D.C. that actually plays out in Landover, or the Bears. I think that would be shocking, and Dave would be so hungover he wouldn't be able to be here on Monday.
He wouldn't, but I mean that's what happens when you're a Bears fan.
I kid. When we come back, we start our third and final hour on this Tuesday afternoon. Dave will be back with us tomorrow. Drew Barrett producing and co-hosting. We started with Bo Marchant. That's up next on Sportstime.
Grind City Brewing Company is taking care of beerness in Memphis. Grind City Brewing is the dream of a father and son duo to create a brand that delivers a high quality, great tasting, and easy drinking craft beer. And they've done it. The brewery sits high above the city elevation in uptown Memphis with 15,000 square feet of beerness, including a 5,000 square foot tap room. Grind City Brewing is committed to all things Memphis, including the Tigers. They have created a malt liquor called Tiger Tail that is the official craft beer of the University of Memphis. Tiger Tail comes in 16-ounce six-packs and is not your typical malt liquor. Tiger Tail is crafted with a bold and smooth flavor, has 7.5% alcohol, and its clean finish makes it incredibly easy drinking. Tiger Tail and Grind City Brewing, taking care of beerness in Memphis.
Looking for fine jewelry for that special occasion? Look no further than James Gaddis Jewelers. Hi, this is Jay Gaddis, and for over 60 years, my family has been here for Memphians on every occasion. Specializing in engagement, bridal, and custom design, we are here to make your dreams come true. Depend on us for birthdays, anniversaries, Valentine's, or any day in need of a smile. We have an extensive selection of gemstone, diamond, and pearl jewelry, watches, and designer pieces. Shop local at Poplar near Mendenhall in the heart of East Memphis. James Gaddis Jewelers, your family's jeweler.
I'm giving Jeb's Basement Renovations 1 star. He kept asking me what's behind the walls down there. I'm like, why? What do you know?
No matter how hard you work for your small business, online reviewers will find something to complain about.
And then he's like, you can trust me with the job. And I'm all like, trust?
And while Progressive can't save you from these trolls, we can help you save money on commercial, auto, and business insurance.
Yeah, he charged me less than he said he would, which is lying.
Get a quote online today at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliated and third-party insurers.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis. Looking for a high-efficiency planting solution? The Case IH 2150 Early Riser Planter combines the industry's most accurate planter technologies with a rugged row unit for a fast and uniform emergence. The Case IH 2150 Early Riser operates at your speed and adapts to unique field conditions so that you can maximize your yield potential. Stop in or call Mid-South Ag Equipment at 662-890-3141 to learn more. That's Mid-South Ag, your Case IH Equipment headquarters.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, W253DF Memphis, and WIVG Tunica Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
We welcome you back to the third and final hour for this Tuesday afternoon, January 5, 2021. Charting our way with this calendar year 2021. We hope the very best to everyone. Hope everybody enjoyed the holiday season. If you're one that subscribes to the 12 days of Christmas, that I think they call that beginning on Christmas Day. Today ends it for everybody. So this will be the last Merry Christmas to anybody. That's it after today. But Happy New Year to everyone. We appreciate you, and Happy New Year to you from DeSoto Auto Sales, the title sponsor of this hour. And they want to see you in 2021. They appreciate your patronage of them in years past. They're down on Goodman Road at 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience you've come to know and you've come to trust and you've come to love at DeSoto Auto Sales. All the cars test-driven, checked out bumper to bumper, head to toe, unlimited inventory, every make, every model. And if by chance they don't have the car that you want, they'll go out and find it for you. They'll go find it for you. No shortcuts taken. You walk in, you're treated like family by kind, courteous employees, laid-back atmosphere, no high-pressure sales. You get to know your sales rep. They care about your time. They know we live in a world that time matters. You walk in, find the sales rep you want to deal with, find the car you want within 45 minutes, credit approved, paperwork completed, and you're gone in time to do it over your busy lunch hour or like right now, right after work, in time to get home for dinner time. At DeSoto Auto Sales on Goodman Road. Check them out online at DeSotoAutosales.com. See the happy referrals and look at all the beautiful cars at DeSotoAutosales.com. They're on Goodman Road, and we appreciate them. If you want that town and country experience, get down to Goodman Road, get down to DeSoto County, get to DeSoto Auto Sales. More NFL as the number one sport in the country made it. They made it through 256 regular season games. They're going to try to make it to the playoffs. Al Michaels with one of the great lines on Sunday night referencing a story about the ratings this year. The ratings for the NFL off about 9 to 10%, but still runaway freight train winners in sports across the board. That in college football dominated all the TV ratings for 2020, and Al Michaels had the good line when he said the NFL this year dropped from the number one sport to the number one sport, and that's what it is, and that's why we talk it so much, and we bring in our friend Bo Marchant from collegepro.com to talk it. He covers the Pittsburgh Steelers out of Youngstown, Ohio. Happy New Year, Bo Marchant.
my man. Glad to hear your voice.
Glad to be back with you. Are all your friends ready for the Buckeyes and the Tide?
They are ready. They were actually kind of lax. I thought they would be a little bit more fired up on Facebook, but I'm not a big gambler. I'm not going to lie, but that was one of the few times I was about to, go online, and I was about to I would have took the game straight up with the Buckeyes. I just had a hunch. I just thought they were going to win the game outright, so I would have bet the game straight up just to get, better odds. But lo and behold, they came to play, and they'll be playing Bama. But like I said, be careful what you wish for, because Nick Saban and that Rolling Tide, boy, I would not want to face them. And one thing I remember is the last time they played, I don't know if it was a college football playoff, but I know they won the title. Maybe it was before it happened. But I remember talking to a couple Alabama kids at one of the All-Star games after that game, and they were like, it was just us talking, and they were like, we weren't prepared, or I take that back. They said, we didn't know who Ohio State was. They were like, who are these guys? And and Ohio State, that was the Cardell Jones year, and they put it to them.
That was the semis. That was college football playoff semis. Ezekiel Elliott ran all over them, and Cardell got on that magical roll. Now, Bo, I know why you said online, but come on, you've told me, and I've heard stories through the years from the Calcagney brothers. I bet you can find a local book in Youngstown, Ohio.
Is anybody out there listening to the show? I got to be smart.
and Bo, as somebody that did put money on Clemson, I really appreciate the heads up.
I'm sorry. I didn't know. If you should have texted me.
I should have.
Come on, Bo.
I do have one buddy. And if I might not have anything all year, but he knows when I give, it might be one bet all year. But it could be two. And I'm not bragging here, but when I send the signal, when I say this is it, it's usually, it's about as close. Again, it may never come. I might go a whole year without ever texting this guy. But he got
let your friends in Memphis know next time. Come on, Bo.
Well, I will put you guys in that group text next time. Again,
appreciate it.
You might not hear from me. We might go through all the way through next season, and we might be in 2022, and you're like, "What's this guy on?" But when I give you the message, hopefully that the success continues, and I pull the winner out for you.
We like green money, too. It's good, as it says on the front of all money, good for all debts, public or private.
Well, the sad thing, you think this guy would throw me, a little candy back or, buy me a dinner or, but, lifelong friend and an adamant gambler, maybe gambles too much, but nonetheless, maybe he could kick back a little something.
All right, this weekend in the NFL playoffs, so many great stories. It could be the end for Phillip Rivers, the emerging, I think, year-in, year-out playoff push, maybe finally win one for Buffalo. Sean McVay kind of doing it on defense. Pete Carroll there, Tom Brady there, the Alex Smith story. Ravens and Titans always seem to run at each other at playoff time. They did last year. The Titans got the best of them. The Bears, because of the expanded playoffs, they get in, but they played pretty good down the stretch. Drew Brees saying goodbye. The Steelers Sunday night to wrap up the weekend, we hope, hosting the Browns. The Browns, that's my favorite story of all the playoff teams, finally, and the great job by Kevin Stefanski, and he's not even going to be able to enjoy it.
Yeah, Joe Bitonio, their offensive lineman, a Pro Bowler. He's been there, kind of like Joe Thomas, the heart of that offensive line, tenured Cleveland Brown, and he has COVID. He won't be able to make it. Sad. And, we knew this was going to be a cruel year for everybody in sports. It's a cruel year for everybody, but, there would be circumstances where this pandemic was going to rob you of opportunity. And we see it happening to Cleveland this week. As of, today, that game's still scheduled for 8:15 Sunday night at Heinz Field, and hopefully that doesn't get pushed back. They don't have a lot of wiggle room, and I don't think they're going to adjust that game and start worrying about, that 2-week period they have for the championship games to the Super Bowl. I don't think they're going to, adjust that game for that. So, Cleveland's in a very peculiar predicament, I guess, just because they're going to probably have to play regardless of how many positives come up. And hopefully this is the last of the positives we get today. But I would be surprised if, today's Tuesday, I'd be surprised if there's not some more names that pop up. And we know who they played last Sunday, the Steelers. Who knows how many, guys maybe interacted where, some of those numbers start to pop up on the Steelers side.
Yeah, you definitely, fingers crossed, hope that it doesn't happen that way. But before we get back to more of the playoffs, every single person has given their opinion on it, whether it was right or it was wrong or you were cheating the sport.
Awful.
You know what I'm going to ask, don't you?
Awful. The guy hasn't played in a game in 105 weeks in Nick Sudfeld. So am I right? Or before I go?
No, that's exactly what I was going to ask. What do you think of Doug Peterson's decision?
Right.
It was disgraceful.
It was awful. And, we've talked plenty about Doug Peterson this season and, about how Frank Wright and, the lost magic of Carson Wentz. And to do that, Miles Sanders, their running back, was quoted. I quote, I'm being honest. He said, I'm being honest. Nobody here, is happy with this decision. Nobody. So, when you have a team reeling, you saw it. I saw it. Everybody watched that game Sunday night, saw, Jason Kelsey and those guys on the sidelines just dipping their heads in disgust going, what is going on? And I felt for them. And, playoff implications, this is the last game of the season. 256 games that the NFL made it through. Give the fans what they want, what the fans deserve, what the team deserves, what the Eagles deserved. And I shook my head. I was disgusted. And then I thought about Jalen Hurts. Here's this guy that had to sit on the sidelines and watch Tua Tagovailoa come in at Alabama, had to go to Oklahoma, had arguably one of the greatest collegiate seasons we've ever seen, but it was overshadowed by the magnificent season Joe Burrow had. So, if you could ever just have a good feel story about somebody, and he's playing it obviously against Alex Smith, who was a really good feel story, but, my heart just sank for, watching Jalen Hurts. You could just feel that young man's pain and the whole team's pain. I thought it was an awful call, and this could be, and who knows, he hasn't made it out yet. This could be, the ending. Jim Schwartz, he was well-loved. He's going to not opt out, but he's going to let his contract expire. The one thing you could say about Philadelphia, besides a lot of bonehead calls by Peterson this season, was that defense always came fired up and feisty and ready to play. And we saw it, Sunday night, Singleton playing the guitar after the sack, all those memorable moments. That team came to play week in, week out. No Jim Schwartz, no Frank Wright, and now you got a team that's very upset with their head coach. So it's going to be a very, very interesting offseason for the Eagles.
I was there for it when 3 years ago in Minneapolis when they finally win a Super Bowl for the city of Philadelphia, and they were so excited they were eating out of the street there in celebration. But after the game, Doug Peterson, just felt like he would be the coach in Philly for as long as he wanted to be. But this year he played for a tie, and then I think tantamount to through a game.
Mm-hmm.
Bo?
Yeah, I just don't know.
Hold it. Let me reel that in because he didn't throw a game because I'm not alleging any monetary benefit for him. That's what it would take for it.
He didn't try to win.
He didn't try to win. I think he wanted that draft position. And unlike the NBA, what does one draft slot get you?
Yeah, I think they would have went from 6 to 9. But at the end of the day, it's the locker room that matters most. If the players don't feel the coach has their back, that's who they play for. And if you feel that he's going to be capable of doing something that in the future, hypothetically, what happens if the same circumstances come out next year? Those guys, it's going to be 77-0, Washington, and you're going to look at a lapper. It sends a bad signal to everything about the National Football League. And you'd have to even wonder privately if Roger Goodell and these guys, maybe call Jeff Lurie up and say, hey, just give him a little pep talk in private and say, hey, this was unacceptable. Coaches can do what they want, but, Herman Edwards said it best. You play to win the game. And I think everyone, and I could be wrong, but I think everyone would agree that Doug Peterson did not do that Sunday night. He did not play to win the game because there's no way a man that smart that has a Super Bowl ring could look at the media or at that camera, the photographers, and everyone asking that question. Did you really think Nick Sudfeld was the right play with Jalen Hurts in the game? So, and I think he would be lying to us. He's lying to himself when he says, yeah, we wanted to get Sudfeld in to see what he could do.
Yeah, I think he is absolutely lying, Bo. But one of the best stories that was coming out, came out of Sunday, was I think Derrick Henry becoming the 8th 2K rusher. Had to get 223, eclipsed that pretty easily against the Texans. Should he get more MVP talk?
I think so. And from, I grew up, in the 80s with, running backs. I mean, the hallmark of football when I was growing up was to pass Jim Brown. We had the home run mark in baseball. In my opinion, passing Jim Brown on the rushing list, that was the holy grail of NFL statistics. And, nobody cared about passing statistics. This was chasing Jim Brown. And to think of a 2,000-yard rusher, playoff team, and he's, they said, leading the league, back-to-back rushing years. It hasn't been done forever. Yeah, I think so. But we know this is a quarterback-driven league. Even with the Heisman stuff going on tonight, if Smith, the receiver from Bama, if he can pull that off and just kind of take that stranglehold that the quarterbacks have on everything right now, it's just nice to see some different faces. But I would love to see a running back grab some glory and have an MVP trophy because, again, we've become so one-dimensional, so quarterback-driven. The passing numbers, you just look across the league at, to see a 4,800-yard passer. I mean, back in the day, that was a rarity. It was just it wasn't something we saw. Now it's just what it is what's rare now is to see a guy go for 2,000, even a guy rush for 1,500 in today's NFL is pretty special just because of the way the game is. But yeah, I agree with you, Drew, that Henry I think should get a little bit more love and the way he does it. He's so big, he's so physical. He kind of brings back that glory days when you're thinking about the Earl Campbells and the Otis Andersons and the John Riggins and all those big burly backs. You just watch him. You got
George Rogers.
George Rogers, definitely. I mean, seeing him do it and, with the Saints, and then he went on to get a Super Bowl winning room with Washington. Fantastic big bodies like that. William
John
Andrews.
Riggins.
Yeah, John Riggins. These guys, Okoye, we could go on and on, but, just to see those guys, but the success he had and back-to-back seasons, and, the Titans were able to win the division, and, they relied on him. And, he's their MVP. Without him, you're not going to see the Titans in the playoffs. So, I think he's totally disregarded just because he is at that position.
And his 2,000 yards will hold up because now as we're going to obviously add the 17th game, that'll make somebody doing it easier. I brought up I make it more easy for somebody to get to 2,000. It'd still be hard, but with 17, it just mathematical sense, a lot easier to get to than 16. I brought up OJ's the first 2K, first one to go over what he did in 73, and I remember watching that game, Week 14, on a frozen field of Shea Stadium in New York, in Queens. And he did it to himself. It's no poor OJ to it. But, Bo, it's hard to even bring up the exploits from sport and what he accomplished. And he was some kind of size, speed, inside, outside, durable back. But it's hard to even have a conversation about OJ.
No, you can't. For everything we know and what happened, it's hard to look back and reminisce with glory and praise. But, you can't look at what he was in that backload. That particular season, you witnessed it. I've just seen the highlights, and been able to kind of, admire it from afar from that point. But like you said, and 14 games, that's the key. I think a lot of people forget.
And in those spot-built cleats.
Yeah.
that was the shoe manufacturer, spot-built.
Yeah. And it's in Buffalo. He wasn't doing this on fast turf in Los Angeles. He was in Buffalo and grinding it out. And, people just we lose track, and OJ's. I think we're going to remember from
did it to himself.
What he did to himself, rather than the player that we remember. But that's also part of it. But at the end of the day, running back's my favorite position offensively. And growing up, I could Billy Sims, and I'll think of all Barry Sanders. Even the guy like Stump Mitchell. Those guys are. Freeman McNeil, I could go on and on.
My favorite Twitter moment of 2020 is Billy Sims liked a tweet of mine.
Wow.
Good.
I'm glad we brought him up then. See, Bill, or see, Brett, we're on the same wavelength there. Billy Sims, who would have thought we opened up the 2021 show and talk about Billy Sims, and he's the highlight of the 2020.
Who wore number 20? Yeah. And he won't be there tonight, but I hope they bring him in because he's kind of the older grand poobah of the Heisman now, and every year they'll show his portrait that hangs in the Hall of Portraits for the Heisman, and he has the big hair from the day when he played at OU, and love him. One of my favorite stories ever. He's a senior in high school. Had a big Friday night performance for the Hooks Hornets in Hooks, Texas, Northeast Texas, right there by the Oklahoma-Arkansas line, and OU's playing on Saturday, and they're crushing somebody. They're up like 45-0 at halftime. Barry Switzer asked his football ops guy, said, "Where's the payphone?" I said, "Well, right outside the locker room. What do you need a payphone for?" He goes, "I'm going to call Billy Sims." He calls Billy Sims at the gas station where he was working as a high school senior when he had time. Called him and said, "Hey, Billy." He said, "I'm a little bit bored, and we're beating somebody 45-0, but this time next year you're going to be in this locker room with me."
Hey, you know what? And I want to say this because we come on and we do the show and we don't get too much time to just interact. But for the listeners on Memphis 56 here, you guys are so lucky and blessed. I mean, Drew, steps in when Dave's away, but Brett and Dave, the history you guys bring. There's so many shows that when I come on, I walk away with learning something, and I love picking up knowledge and hearing those kind of stories. So if you're listeners of Sports 56. I'm telling you, you guys, and listen, I'm not some world traveler of radio talk, but I'm telling you, when I'm on this program and I'm with you guys, I always learn something at least once a week.
Cut us in on the cash next time in Youngstown then.
Exactly.
But I do mean that.
But, Bo, just think of what a young 26-year-old sitting here doing a show with them every day learns. I mean, I learned either they were geniuses back in the day or they were making it up as they would go half of the time with sports. But, Bo, I would be remiss, especially with all the rumors going around and coaches opening. People telling me it's almost a done deal for Urban Meyer in the NFL, especially with Jacksonville. Should I believe him or should I believe him as far as I can throw him?
I've been trying to find out. I've been trying to find this out myself. And, again, I'm not the deepest insider. I would lean towards that he would be, but again, nothing's guaranteed, and I am not on the high list that's going to have that privileged information that few have. But I could see it happening. He's been away. Things have settled down. I'd just be curious to how he would be at the National Football League. Going through his, all big time college programs are going to have their hiccups. His success is undeniable, but just a little bit different demeanor, a more disciplined demeanor, I think, is needed at the NFL level, where you really have to, let these guys know. And we've seen a history of some of these guys not being the best athletes, at the schools in terms of off the field things. And I just wonder if that would be a problem at the, the next level. But again, I will not question what he's been able to accomplish. I mean, one of the most successful coaches in the last couple of decades in the collegiate level, and I mean, he could recruit like no other, but again, in the NFL, everybody gets 7 picks and the same, draft salary. You're not recruiting. You put it this way, you just can't call Billy Sims. You can't call Billy Sims and tell him he's going to be on the team next year.
That's right.
You got to move up in the draft and take him. So it's a little bit different, but I have no ill will towards Urban Meyer. I would love to see him. I just think he's
I would too. I like him.
Game. Yeah, and I do, and I like him. I've met him a couple times. I've heard some little horror stories around him, but I've been able to talk to him a couple times.
We hit it off big.
Yeah, he's really genuine. He was accommodating, and again, that's the only thing I can go on. If you had a bad experience, I apologize, but, my couple times, he was really genuine, really forthcoming, and so very fortunate. But again, I wish him success. I would love to see him in Jacksonville and, turn that franchise around. I just think it would be good for the NFL and the franchise.
Bo, thank you for your time. Thank you for those kind words. You know that, and we appreciate you. And we're off and running on this 2021 thing, and we'll do it again next week after we watch all these games this weekend. Thank you, Bo. Have a great week.
Yeah. Stay safe, guys.
Thanks, Bo.
You got it. Bo Marchant talking the NFL with us every week. I'm gonna tell my Urban Meyer story. He was in town to play in the Pro-Am, in the FedEx St. Jude Classic Pro-Am. It was the same year as Tim Tebow, and I was fortunate enough to be in a pretty big group out eating that night. But, when you're at the table of 12, you really only have a conversation with the person right by you. Well, I was right by him, and it was great, and we got along well through the years. SEC Media Days and things. One year at SEC Media Days, I meant it. I meant it sincerely. I said, did your family have a good summer? He got right in my face. He said, you're the only person that asked me about how my family is and about my summer. And I think you meant. I said, Coach, I did mean it. but that night after the round, not at all intoxicated. He was not, but he had a drink or two. And again,
oh, just like yesterday, it had to happen right when Brett's about to tell something that he's never revealed, I think, on these airways. We had it yesterday when we were talking about COVID-19. Now today, it happens when we're about to get the ultimate Urban Meyer story. Hopefully, we'll be able to get Brett on the other side when Ron Tillery joins us to talk all NBA and all things Grizzlies. So we'll be right back right here on Sports Time on Sports 56, 98.5, and 96.1.
Sports 56 mornings with Peter Edmiston and Anthony Sane. Weekday mornings from 7 till 10 on Sports 56, 98.5, and 96.1.
I'm giving Jeb's Basement Renovations 1 star. He kept asking me what's behind the walls down there. I'm like, why? What do you know?
No matter how hard you work for your small business, online reviewers will find something to complain about.
And then he's like, you can trust me with the job. And I'm all like, trust?
And while Progressive can't save you from these trolls, we can help you save money on commercial, auto, and business insurance.
Yeah, he charged me less than he said he would, which is lying.
Get a quote online today at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliated and third-party insurers.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
2021 is finally here. Might I suggest we start the wonderful new year with a makeover for your beautiful house. I'm Brian Elder. I'm a roofer. I fix roofs. Don't let them tell you that it has to be replaced when all it may need is some love. 867-0303. Let me love on your roof. I've made quite the reputation over the last decade as the guy to call after the insurance company denies the claim. Overturning a claim that has gone bad is an art form where you argue county code, manufacturer's specs, and details of your policy that they have to abide by. So let me see it first. If I say it's a claim, it's a claim. 867-0303. Money is free at Brian Elder Roofing with 0% financing for half a decade. I'll measure your roof from outer space and get you a quote right over the phone. 867-0303 or BrianElderRoofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM, 98.5 FM, and 96.1 FM. As well as online around the world at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere on your phone or tablet by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, tell Google or Alexa to play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned to real sports talk. Sports 56, 98.5, and 96.1.
At First Bank Mortgage, their core purpose is to help you get to a better place. That better place may be a lower monthly payment, that vacation you thought was impossible, or getting into a home with a fenced backyard where your kids can play. To get into your better place, First Bank Mortgage makes decisions right here at home. Dedicated to helping you get to your better place, First Bank Mortgage. Call Daniel Mooney at 901-462-0145 today. NMLS 741022. Equal housing lender.
There's a new commissary in town in Collierville. Germantown Commissary is doubling. Yeah, they're still going to have the old Germantown Commissary by the tracks, but now there's a huge new Germantown Commissary in Collierville at Poplar and Houston Levee Road. It's huge, too. There's a drive-through. There's plenty of parking. No telephone pole to get in your way. A cool patio. It's right by the track, so the tradition continues. And this is a tradition that's been around forever. That commissary is famous for hickory-smoked, slow-cooked Memphis-style barbecue. They've got a private party room at the new one in Collierville. Self-catering still continues. Party packs for $5.95. Basically, the great ribs, the great pulled shoulder, the great deviled eggs. Everything is there in Collierville and Germantown now. So there is now a Germantown and Collierville style of barbecue. It's called Germantown Commissary.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Thank you, Drew, on the assist. Come on, AT&T, be better. 2 days in a row, the Wi-Fi goes out. Yesterday it was health news. Today it was a Urban Meyer story. But to continue that story, he got right in my face. He said, "Football's simple. It's whoop or get whooped," and that's what it is. And he went on a great sermonette about there's a finite, and I've used it through the years. There's a finite time in a young man's life to play football. With every passing grade. 7th grade football eliminates. 8th grade eliminates. 9th, 10th. High school mostly bulldozes everybody. That's it after high school football. Most people, it's over with. Most sports, it's over with that night. Then a few in college. And he mentioned professional football. He said then the elite go on to professional football. And now Urban Meyer, Drew, may be wanting to coach in professional football. And I'm going to say if he does, he will be successful. Look at what he's done. And look at the jobs he could have had that he's turned down through the years. I mean, Florida or Notre Dame is sitting there for him when Dr. Bernie Matchin was able to hire him at Florida because of their relationship from Utah. For somebody that GA'd it, our coach, was assistant coach at Notre Dame after playing college football at Cincinnati, to turn them down and take the Florida job, he made the right choice.
Yeah, he definitely did make the right choice, and you're exactly right. On the NFL side of things, if he does end up down Jacksonville way or at any of these openings, because obviously he can call them and they'll take him without any question, make it a lot easier for themselves. Just off of his track record, I mean, you win like that every single place you've been. At the end of the day, football is football. If you can win at college level, you can probably win at the NFL.
And this is a big-time coach, and if he takes it, I think he will do well. Tonight, the Grizzlies host the Lakers, world champions. They did on Sunday afternoon, and they get them again in back-to-back games to talk the Grizzlies, talk the NBA, and to talk basketball with us in 2021. Our friend from Chicago, but longtime Memphian now, Ron Tillery joins us now. Where's the music, Drew?
I'm sorry. I was pulling double duty today. I guess
Ron Tillery.
made me forget it. I'm sorry, Ron. If you give me 2 seconds.
You got to come out dry today. Come on, Ron.
Hey, I'll tell you one thing, man. I like nothing better than to bring in a new year with you guys, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Ron Tillery. Tonight for the Grizzlies, very sad for the fans. Through the years, Lakers, you circle that. I mean, there are a couple things. First things, the national recognition of Dr. Martin Luther King Day, that special day, that one circles. Lakers coming in circled. Whomever LeBron's playing for. Now it's both Lakers and with that being his team. There are a couple of those that you always look forward to. And, Ron, I said it earlier. I go back to the first year at the Pyramid, around Christmas, right before Christmas, a terrible Grizzlies team pulling the upset over Kobe and Shaq. That was a special moment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, and before there was grit and grind, there was just the scrappiness of the Memphis Grizzlies, because they were indeed a bad team, but they came out and played hard. You know, we're talking about the Brevin Knight era. Talking about Lorenzen Wright and Jay Will and Powell. You know, people forget how good Powell was, rather, I should say. And so, yeah, I mean, it's always been a scrappy team, and then they just developed over the years. And
that was a fun upset.
I want to welcome back, you know, one of the legends, Lionel Hollins, who's an assistant coach with the Lakers. I spoke with him recently. He says that winning a championship as a coach is just as sweet as when he won it as a Portland Trailblazer, as a player back in the 70s. And longevity has its place. And I think Memphis should be honored to have had him as a coach and know him as a Memphian, because he still keeps it home here.
You're exactly right, Ron. I mean, those early teams, especially when they moved to Memphis, I mean, for a lot of us, especially people my age, you know, sitting there between the ages of 7 to 10 to 11, I mean, that's where your NBA mind really gets going, and those are the first teams that you remember, and those are the first teams I definitely remember watching for the Memphis Grizzlies. But this Memphis Grizzlies team, yes, the injury bug has hit pretty badly, 7 Grizzlies out. Right now, sitting at the basement of the Western Conference. Do the Grizzlies climb out of that anytime soon? Are we looking at it still being 15th out of 15th this time next month?
Do they want to?
Yeah, I think it's both. I don't think we're going to expect to see them climb out, and I don't think they want to either. Remember last year, the expectations were very low. They just shocked the world by being as competitive as they were. I still think people need to wrap their mind around the fact that if that NBA had continued, there's no way the Grizzlies would have made the playoffs.
Probably not.
They had to play left on that schedule. They had to play all those teams behind them twice, including the Spurs.
Who's going to catch them?
And they would have caught them. But they were ahead of schedule because the experience they got was invaluable. And that's what they're doing this year. This year is not about winning ball games more than developing the talent, as you put it, Drew, getting healthier, and then all eyes on Coach Jenkins because he has to develop into a heavyweight head coach in terms of knowing what lineups to put together, their work, knowing the rotations, and trying to maximize the talent. I think that's what every coach who has stood on the sidelines with the Grizzlies has done, who have been effective. When you start with Hubie Brown with a ragtag team, then Mike Patello took over a ragtag team. I'm going to skip over Alvarone because he was just terrible. And then, Lionel Hollins, ragtag team. And, you go to Yeager and then also Fizdale. So these guys had success by being creative as coaches. And now, it's all eyes on Taylor Jenkins. He's got to figure this out.
Yeah, in a tough year, big and small, whether it's right here locally or around the NBA, it's hard to really cast too many judgments on him, though, Ron, with basically G League lineups a lot of nights. And if you're going to have a throwaway year, this may be the one of all time to have that throwaway year. You don't have anybody coming to the games to boo you. You don't have anybody mad at you. So if you're going to throw it away, this may be the one to do it.
Absolutely, and I think reasonable basketball media and fans understood that going in, for the simple fact that a lot of teams in the Western Conference got better. You're talking about better in terms of health, and you're talking about better in terms of talent. You look at the team that they're playing tonight. The Los Angeles Lakers don't have a billionaire owner. It's still a family-run business. But the rich got richer when the Lakers remade their roster this year. And so they are still the heavy favorite to win the championship. And, the Grizzlies are just, scratching and clawing and trying to make their way with two 21-year-olds, and Ja and Jaren, leading the way. So, yeah, the expectations were never that high. I don't think they should have been, at least, for this particular season. And again, I like the Boston model, where they hired a very talented young coach in Brad Stevens, and they allowed him to grow with that young team. I don't know a lot about Taylor Jenkins, but it seems to me that that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to allow this coach to grow with this roster. And so that's why I always emphasize all eyes on him, because he's got to show something. Now, chances are he won't be the guy that puts him over the hump, but he has to grow with this roster.
Ron, why do you think he won't be the guy that puts him over the hump? Just, track record with coaches in Memphis, or Taylor Jenkins might not be the guy?
That's the NBA. I'm young enough to remember when Doug Collins really scratched and clawed with the Michael Jordan Bulls in the early days, and they just all of a sudden replaced him with Phil Jackson, and then off they went. It just happens that way. And now if you want to make it singular to Memphis, they fired the guy that got them to the Western Conference Finals. So
dumbest thing ever.
It's just the way the NBA works. You're not going to have a lot of Rick Carlisle's and Jerry Sloan's and Greg Popovich in the league anymore. I felt like they did Brett Brown dirty in Philadelphia. What was he preaching all those years? The process. And when he got him through the process, they said, okay, your process is your butt out the door. So I just think it's nothing personally against Taylor Jenkins. I just think, there's going to come a time when his time is going to be up.
Yeah, and that's one of the really a easy bet is they're not going to have that longevity, because right now in the NBA, here's the coaching seniority with the team that they're associated with. Number one, back to hired December 10th, 1996, Pop. Number two, Eric Spoelstra, hired in 2008. Rick Carlisle, Dallas, 2008. Terry Stotts, your buddy, hired in 2012. Yeah. Then Brad Stevens, 2013. Then Steve Kerr, 2014. Quinn Snyder is 7th in current seniority, hired June 6, 2014. Then you get into Mike Malone in Denver, hired in 2015. And probably the first guy that's going to be out this year, hired in 2016 in Washington, Scott Brooks. Just about the next 4-game losing streak, he's out in D.C.
Man, Stats, you're good, man. You are really good. I mean, I could not have come up with that any better than what you just did. It's just. You know what it does? It speaks to the organization. And what I always talk about is when you think about drafts and when you think about free agent acquisitions and when you think about coaching, these are organizational failures. And I oftentimes think that, and it's happening more and more, that GMs should go with the coaches. I don't understand why GMs get to keep hiring coaches.
I so agree. And ADs in college need to go.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, it's not a personal knock on Taylor Jenkins. I'm just saying, when you got a group of guys who are leading this franchise at 21 years old, chances are he's not going to see them through reaching the Western Conference Finals.
Ron, team out of the NBA that definitely should have more expectations than the Grizzlies and kind of hit turmoil. And I don't know if it's just because they're playing in Tampa Bay this year. Like, maybe that can be an excuse. Even now, rumors and people out there saying they should move on from Kyle Lowry. What's going on with the Raptors, in all seriousness? 1-5 to start the season.
Well, let's start with Raptors minus Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, that does help.
Yeah. I think they did an exceptional job last year on the back of Kyle Lowry and Siakam and some of those guys that were just scrapping out wins. But Kyle Lowry's been around for a while now, and he's had his share of injuries, and he's just slowing down. I mean, he's on the downside of his career, and and it's become more of a competitive Eastern Conference when you watch teams like Miami and Orlando and Philadelphia rise. Teams fall off, and that was to bring it back to the Grizzlies, the brilliance of Michael Heisley, the late great Michael Heisley's 3-year plan. He said, we're not trying to win now, but in 3 years, when these teams are falling off, we're going to be right there ready to take somebody's spot. And so Toronto was headed in that direction. They won a championship. They had savvy veterans and Kyle and Marc Gasol and Kawhi Leonard. And, it's time to transition.
And, Ron, how frustrated should Grizzlies fans be by seeing maybe a little more rapid ascension in the playoff standings with Phoenix than the Grizzlies are doing? Phoenix 5-2. I know it's early right now, but 5 up, 2 down. Should Grizzlies fans be aggravated? Hey, why not us?
Well, I don't think so, because Phoenix is man, they've been terrible for a long time, and so that fits the narrative that I was just expressing in terms of them positioning themselves with young talent. And at some point, they had to rise. The Grizzlies were fortunate to have that 7-year playoff run, which, after Barkley and Paul Westphal, shout out to Paul Westphal, another friend of mine, and sad to hear of his passing. And they gave Phoenix fans and that community a lot of good years. It was the young teams that just couldn't get it done, and now they're starting to rise up with Devin Booker, and then also, you had a guy like a Hall of Famer like Chris Paul. I mean, there's no way to go but up. But see, I think, and I say this all the time, and people used to hear me on these airwaves, you got to have patience for the process. And I think that's just what the Grizzlies are. It's a process. You got two 21-year-olds leading you, and you're fighting through injuries. it just doesn't happen overnight. And so, Phoenix, to your point, that they took their licks, and so now it's time to show
sure
something.
Did.
And I think unfortunately for the Grizzlies, their licks are coming by way of injury, but they got two nice pieces to build around, and the process should be good to them if they stay the course. Don't do anything desperate. That's the only thing you can ask for this front office.
Speaking of taking their licks, Golden State took them last year, and now they've recovered pretty well, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, and again, it comes with being healthy. I can't not be happier for James Wiseman to fall into that situation because he earned it, and he deserves to be a part of a culture that will allow him to succeed. And they got Steph Curry back. They got Draymond back. They'll get Klay Thompson back, and they'll be back on the top of the mountain. But again, that's part of being patient for the process. You can overreact to all of that stuff that happened to them last year and make dumb decisions, but that's not what their front office did. They just said, hey, this isn't our year. And they wrote it out. And they got a great pick in that young man, James Wiseman.
They sure did. Only got to see him briefly last year. Oh, so briefly. Only one game I saw him in person.
I didn't even get to see him at all
with the Tigers. Now I begged you to go, and you didn't.
I got stuck at work here.
So you missed it, Drew.
They decided to tip off at 6 o'clock.
I know it. Ron Tillery, thank you for your time. Happy 2021, and away we go. This will be fun. It's going to be a better year this year than last, as the song says.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me, and I really appreciate the time. And again, I just want to shout out my friend Paul Westphal. He was, I met a lot of good guys in this league. When I think about Paul, you brought up Terry Stotts, George Call, Nate McMillan, Dwayne Casey, Lionel House. I mean, and I just I feel bad for Paul's family because he was a better person than he was a coach, and so God bless him.
Everybody says.
Yep.
Thank you, Ron Tillery. We really appreciate it. We'll talk to you. I know you did. I know you did. Thank you, man. We'll talk next week.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ron.
Okay.
You got it. Ron Tillery with us every Tuesday afternoon, and everyone you talk to around the league about Paul Westphal, they echo that. And also this about him coming out of high school when everybody that was as good as he was, they were going to Westwood. They were going to play for John Wooden. They were going to go play for UCLA, and he did the unthinkable and went to USC. and it had not had much basketball history, really. Jack Sharman was probably the best USC player before Paul Westphal, and then Paul Westphal became that and was a great player, drafted by Boston and part of the Phoenix Suns NBA runner-up in 1976 to those very same Boston Celtics in a classic 4-2 series. Paul Westphal passed away from brain cancer at 70 years old, and everybody says what Ron Tillery said about him that knew him very well. When we come back, we wrap up this Tuesday afternoon. We do it with Taco Bell Crunch Time. That's next.
Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy get you through lunch daily from 10 to 1.
Well, lunch is served.
Only on Sports 56, 98.5 FM, and 96.1 FM.
I'm here with the great Pat Donahue from the Rendezvous Restaurant Shipping Department.
Thanks, Brett. We've been shipping our ribs all over the country now for decades from our USDA-inspected shipping kitchen in the Pinch District. We hand-cook our ribs in pits that Mr. Charlie built over charcoal, just like they do at the restaurant.
So what comes in a rib box?
We could do pork shoulder, we could do ribs, our sauce, seasoning, baked beans, coleslaw. We'll even throw in Pancho's cheese dip with our nacho boxes. We also put a bag of Rendezvous seasoned popcorn, heating instructions, some chef hats, some wet naps, and some other helpful tips from our kitchen. We ship our ribs overnight, exclusively FedEx. When we put them in nice packaging, we don't ever want to use styrofoam, so we use corrugated cardboard, actually 2 boxes that fit nice together, so the ribs get to you, your loved ones, or your clients in a safe, wholesome manner. Rendezvous ribs are perfect for out-of-town clients, customers, loved ones. We also ship ribs for any occasion.
Where do we order these great ribs?
You can go to www.hogsfly.com or give us a call at 1-888-464-7359.
Charlie Burgos' Rendezvous Restaurant in the alley since 1948.
Bartlett Small Engine has been serving quality power equipment since 1970. They have a full line of power equipment, parts, and services for most makes and models. Bartlett Small Engines has the best brands in the power tool industry: Honda mowers, trimmers, and generators, Steel blowers, trimmers, and chainsaws, Echo trimmers, blowers, and chainsaws, plus quality products from Red Mat and Shindawa. And they're all American made. Bartlett Small Engine is your can-do store. 6780 Summer Avenue. Call 901-386-9779.
I'm a big fan of Town Village, and there is always something to do year-round. Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. Looking for a great place to retire, but you still have a very active lifestyle? Then visit Town Village. Only requirements that you're 55 plus. Prices per month starting at $24.50. The Gourmet Chef welcomes you to visit our restaurant and bistro. Package includes 3 complimentary meals per day, maid service, free local transportation, monthly coffee club, theme dinner parties, lots of fun. Visit us and call Daniel or Bo at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home. Town Village Audubon Park.
You already know you can listen to Sports 56 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also watch live video of all our shows on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. Don't miss out on anything. Stay in touch with Sports 56, 98.5, and 96.1 on social media. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wallo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Tomorrow we will have TJ Reeves with us at 3:30. Barrett Jones talking college football. He's done about all these games over the course of the last week. We'll talk with Barrett about 4 tomorrow. On the Business of Sport at 4:30, Rick Harrow to kick off 2021. He's got 21 things for 2021 that he will share with us tomorrow at 5 o'clock tomorrow. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, and our last visit of the year with the Executive Director of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, Steve Earhart, and they pulled off the all but impossible this year. Great job by everyone associated with the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. We'll visit with Steve about that tomorrow, but we wrap up today with Taco Bell Crunch Time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskell.
Boop! Choo-choo!
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
All one, all two, all three. Hey!
Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day. Drew, I learned, and I gave it out as a nugget when we were visiting with Jeff Moore on the NFL, Baker Mayfield with Peyton Manning and Mr. Perfect himself, Andrew Luck, only quarterbacks to record at least 3,500 yards passing and 20 touchdown passes in each of their first 3 seasons. How come no publicity around Baker Mayfield like this? I know Peyton and Andrew Luck, they were almost the blessed ones. Why is Baker Mayfield treated like that? Is it
I think
too
I said
arrogant?
No,
too cocky?
no. I think it really is the narrative of you can't leave the ball in Mayfield's hand to win you the game. You got to get the run game set up. If you don't get the run game set up, Mayfield's not going to be able to attack a defense the way you want to. If the run game's not there, Mayfield's not there. And I think that narrative that we've been given the last few years, which I'm not saying is 100% wrong, but that narrative is why he doesn't get it. Because without a run game, he's really
What'd
nothing.
you learn?
I learned today that while I disagree with a lot of things Major League Baseball does, especially Rob Manfred, and when I say basically almost everything, I mean 99.9% of things, but I do agree with this inclusion in Major League Baseball. Learned today that the Red Sox have hired Bianca Smith to be a minor league coach. Smith will become the first black woman to coach in professional baseball. She has worked as the assistant coach and hitting coordinator at Carroll University in Wisconsin since 2018. With the Red Sox, she will be based at the team's practice development facilities in Fort Myers, Florida, working primarily with position players.
And congratulations to her, and I hope we have spring training and she can get to work here when pitchers and catchers and players start to report normally in about 35, 40 days. I've got a baseball. Could have done without. I like the whole realignment. Well, I didn't like the realignment, but I like how it's going to fall out reportedly for the Memphis Redbirds. It's going to kind of be a merger of the old International League kind of central-type teams with the central-type teams from the PCL. PCL's gone as a representative, and the International League's gone. The Redbirds will be in the Triple-A Midwest, from what I'm told, and that will encompass Louisville, Columbus, Gwinnett, Toledo, some newer names to go with Omaha, Iowa. No more trips to the West Coast. All those games, all those nights in Tacoma that you ran Redbirds games, all those games in Fresno. No more for the PCL. What is it you could have done with that?
Well, I could have done without the knowledge that no other producer in this city will ever have to sit through almost 5 a.m. games for a 15-inning game against the Reno Aces. But what I could have done without was the unfortunate news out of Orlando, Florida, with the Memphis Tigers game being postponed due to COVID-19 issues within the Central Florida program. Now 2 back-to-back games being canceled due to opponents having COVID-19. Hopefully, Penny and his staff and his team take full advantage of this extra practice time, because I think we can all agree they kind of need it.
Yeah, they do, and maybe they will use it to their advantage. What are you keeping a close eye on tonight?
Obviously going to keep a really close eye because I'll be down at FedEx Forum for the Grizzlies and Lakers. Going to keep a really close eye on Kentucky and Vandy. Obviously, Kentucky off to their worst start since 1927. Jazz in Brooklyn. And, of course, the Heisman Trophy here in about 5 minutes.
It's coming up, 86th Heisman Trophy presentation. We'll keep a close eye on it. It'll take a while to announce the winner. There will be a lot of run-up to it as they've got to get the sponsorship in. We understand that. Here's how I voted. I voted 1, Mac Jones. He's the quarterback throwing all that to Devontae Smith. If Jalen Waddle doesn't get hurt, Devontae Smith's numbers are cut in half. Mac Jones' numbers aren't cut in half at all. Number 2, I have Najee Harris from Alabama, trying to reward a running back in this past happy times that we're in, all-time leading rusher in Crimson Tide history. And number 3, Devontae Smith. If I'd have been allowed to go deeper than that, 4 would have been Kyle Trask, 5 would have been Desmond Ridder, 6 would have been Zach Wilson with BYU. No Tigers tonight, what a shame, but we understand why. In the SEC, Mizzou at State. That's the later game coming up in just a few minutes. Florida at Bama. Hey, SEC championship game on the hardwood tonight, right?
Exactly.
The SEC.
Love on the hardwood.
We got to get that
games.
in. Yeah, don't we? We always do. LBJ in town with the Lakers. He's been here since Saturday. Last stop this year. Next stop, we hope we get to see him in person. Drew will tonight, but most of the rest of us will not. Want to thank Gabe Kuhn, Brent Beard, Jeff Moore, and Bo Marchant, and Ron Tillery for joining us today. For Dave, for Drew, I'm Brett. Everyone have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy watching the Grizzlies game. Drew, you be safe down at FedEx Forum, and we'll be back with you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Good night, everyone.
When you visit